Franklin County Board of County Commissioners regular meeting is now in session today. If we would, let's stand together and do the prayer and the pledge. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you've given to each and every one of us. We pray that you would help us to do our best to maximize every decision, every opportunity we face today, not just in this room, but in the rest of our life today. Father, we thank you for every resident and citizen of Franklin County. Pray that you would continue to be with us. We thank you for lower numbers of COVID in recent days. We thank you for helping us in each and every way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Right. First order of business today is approval of minutes.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. I will say under discussion, there was a discrepancy found in the minutes and sent forward to us. Ms. Jessica Gay, I'm understanding you've already made that change. Okay. So it's with those changes that we're making this motion and second today. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous. Up next, payment of county bills.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ward to approve,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion, Commissioners? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's also unanimous. All right,
Mr.
sir,
Chairman.
we have a proclamation this morning.
Yes, sir, we do.
All right,
And bright smiley faces in her places. Renee, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Renee's going to read the proclamation to the board and tell you how great all her employees are out there.
okay.
Just want to start out by saying thank you. Public Safety Telecommunicators Week is April 10th through the 16th, which was last week. That week is to honor our telecommunicators that serve the county. They work at the sheriff's office, and we dispatch for the sheriff's office, Apalachicola Police Department, Caribel Police Department, and all of the volunteer fire departments and our EMS units. So they play a critical role in our law enforcement and our public safety. So I'll start out by reading this. Franklin County Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 10th through 16th, 2022. Whereas emergencies that require law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services can occur at any time, and whereas the prompt response of law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property when an emergency occurs. And whereas the safety of our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel are dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens by communication with the Franklin County Dispatch Center. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators provide a vital link for our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators in Franklin County, Florida have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas public safety telecommunicators have exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Franklin County, Florida, in regular session, duly assembled in recognition of this event, does hereby proclaim April 10th through 16, 2022 to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Franklin County, Florida, in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our community and citizens safe.
Thank you. Attorney Schuler, is it appropriate, should we ratify that by a motion of the board? Motion and
Yes, sir.
second?
You would adopt the resolution and approve it by motion and second.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify and make sure.
So move.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt and Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to extend my thankfulness to the dispatch. It is a tough job. They get the calls to send the deputies out and all the first responders. So thank y'all for everything that y'all do.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd also like to publicly express how special it is that your department works with us. You bring us a lot of peace of mind, even when things are going well, and then when we have an impairment. You're right there for us, and I just know not only are you bringing us as a commission peace of mind, but the people you serve on the other end of that telephone. It's a big deal, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
y'all keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I would also like to say, you guys also do any other emergency services for the county, correct? Like if there's any communications with FHP or anything else, it's all done through that office, correct?
FHP, FWC, with the road department, we work with the road department
Right.
and landfill, parks and rec, yeah.
I'm sure that's the better part of it. I'm sure everything y'all do in that department doesn't always catch everybody at their best day. But that department helps make their day a little bit better by the response that
It
comes
does,
through.
and we, like I've said before, we have a motto in dispatch: you tell us your worst, and we're going to send you our best.
Right.
And that's what we do. So,
Yeah. Well, I think that's pretty evident to everybody in the county. Thank y'all for everything you do.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Thank you so
Chair.
much.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got a vote. Yeah. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank you, Renee. Mr. Chairman, before you move on, normally we would have Mr. Pierce doing the update on the dredging, and since he's in Hawaii, and it's probably like 3 or 4 in the morning there, he wouldn't appreciate my call to him this time of the day. So I would ask, since you've been talking to the Corps, would you mind giving an update on whatever you've heard since?
Well, there was one good thing that come from I talked with Mr. Wayland Register and Miss Ashley. If I try to say her last name, I'm going to say it wrong. So I'm not going to do that publicly. She knows who she is if she hears our board meeting. They both were very helpful. What I did come to understand from talking to both of them is that maybe I had misunderstood a little bit of the process. So we're waiting now for the pre-construction meeting before they start doing the dredging. I had understood that the pre-construction meeting was going to take place, then it was going to take an amount of time to actually start the construction, and they both confirmed to me on the telephone that that was not the case. That whenever they have the pre-construction meeting, the actual dredging would start within a 7-day time frame after that. So we've done everything we can do. We've signed everything we can sign. We've made sure to secure our monies from Treasury, our BP oil spill monies, as it were, and forwarded those to them. So we're just waiting on that date. So they both acted like that they thought it would be in May, but they didn't want to give me a definite date, and I understand. And I will also say, before we leave this, I did bring up to both of them separately the issue of, it's almost hurricane season. Last year, they slowed it down because of hurricane season. And they both assured me that they don't have that luxury anymore, because if they keep stopping for hurricane season, they have a half of their projects. They can't back them all up. So just to put the public at ease and make sure the board is aware, they are fully moving forward with these projects. That's it.
A lot of phone.
Ain't nobody home.
Yeah.
That's it, Mike.
Okay.
Any questions before we move on? I'll do my best to answer them. Good, no questions, I like that. All right, so up next is public comments.
You should have 2.
Yes, I see 2 here.
Mr. Chris Crosby is here, I believe, and there's another one.
Yep,
Okay.
Mr.
Yep.
What's your name, sir? Presnell, yes, sir. Come forward, please, Mr. Presnell.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to speak here this morning.
Thank you, sir. Please state your name for the record before we start.
My name is Forrest Presnell.
Thank you.
We live on Arizona Street, kind of the border between Lanark and Caribel. And as y'all know, we have a disaster with our volunteer fire department. We have a new proposed board ready to be put in place of highly qualified people. I am one of those proposed members. While physically I can't fight a fire, my goals will be fundraising and volunteer recruitment. We need your help with this emergency order to go before a judge so we can get this fire department back to where it needs to be. As far as what I've heard about MSBU funds being diverted to Caribel, which we appreciate Caribel coverage greatly during this time, I think that money should be put in reserve and dispersed as necessary to the Caribel Fire Department if we need response from them, because we are going to need funds to rebuild this fire department. And we just need your help desperately. Please, please get this emergency order before a judge. We have a lot of good volunteer firefighters lined up, ready to go. And Chris Crosby can explain more about that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Crosby, your name is next on the list, sir. Please state your name for the record. You may proceed.
It's Chris Crosby. Good morning, Commissioners,
Morning.
Chairman.
Morning, sir.
Like it was brought up last week or 2 weeks ago from Mr. Marone, that at that time it was 10 days since the last, call that anybody's got a hold of David or anybody. And since then, I've tried to reach out to David on 2 different occasions and have heard nothing. I went to the last fire department meeting and there was a no-show. One of the county deputies was there too, so he can, agree to that, attest to that nobody else showed up. So this is a problem. Commissioner Bolt was there, and we all know that this is life safety for the community and for the county. It's not if it's going to happen, it's when, if this fire department don't get back up. And for most of y'all know that I am certified wildland firefighter for the state of Florida for 13 plus years with them, then went on to do on the contract side, not only on structure, but I'm also Firefighter 1 certified through Ocala State Board. And so I told them that I would, help them if this got resolved to establish what they need to be established. They already affirmed me that they have a fire chief that's retired that's willing to come in and help, and I'll do whatever I can to resolve this matter. And I know Mr. Schulter is working on that, and any insight y'all can give us of what process we at now would be much appreciated. And if y'all have any questions for me, feel free to ask.
Okay. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before you continue, if I may, I was just handed another speaker card that came in after the start of the meeting, and I have someone online with a raised hand after the start of the meeting with no speaker card. It would be to the discretion of the board whether or not to take these public comments or not.
Is it just for public comments?
Yes, it's probably the same issue. Well, I'm sorry, the speaker card I have in front of me is the same issue. It seems like it says fire department. The one online, I don't have a clue what that's about.
I don't know that we've ever formally adopted a cutoff time.
Yeah, it's a part of the
That the board's
instructions.
adopted.
Yes, so it's
Yeah.
here. Yeah, the board's call.
Yeah, who's on the card, sir?
I'll hand it to you, sir, and then after that, we could take the one that's online.
Yes, sir. Mr. James Putnam? Please state your name for the record, sir.
My name is James B. Putnam. First of all, I want to thank y'all for having me today. I have in front of me copies of the 2021 Florida statutes that govern the rules for nonprofit organizations. And currently, the situation with Mr. Curry and Mrs. Michelle Curry, Right now, there is a medical emergency situation going on within the department, and that is going to place the department under a set of emergency bylaws, which it is governed by. I'm not at liberty to discuss the bylaws under an emergency situation. I do have what are the common bylaws that they follow on any course of business. But with what I've said being said, right now, there's an emergency situation going on. It is being handled within the department. There is an election to take place. It's a matter of when, and all of that stuff is set forth in the rules that I have in the paperwork here for you guys. Before you jump to any conclusions, make any rash decisions, I would ask that each of you please take the time to read over these. There's enough for everyone. You pass that out for me, please, sir. I know I don't have a whole lot of time to sit up here and speak, but what you've got here, you've got a group of people that have chose to involve themselves in something that they didn't need to be involved in to start with. And they have pushed and pushed and pushed the family that is in control of the fire department at the current time, the current board that's sitting there. This group of people that's here before you today, asking for your assistance, has pushed the current board to the point to where it has caused issues that are going on right now. So before you go any further, please take the time to do a little research. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Can I ask them a question?
Mr. Putnam?
Yes.
Commissioner Lockley wants to ask you a question, sir.
Certainly. Did I understand you to say that, is that the chief that's sick?
Chief Curry, yes, David Curry.
He's sick?
Yes, sir. Now I can't do, I'm not
Okay, I
at liberty
understand.
for HIPAA reasons, to talk about what's going on with him.
No, I don't.
But that places the department and the board under emergency circumstances, and it's being governed under emergency bylaws at the present time.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make just a quick statement real
Yes.
quick. I feel for him, and I will be praying for his help, but I don't think that, with calls, somebody could have called back and said, this is what's going on. It shouldn't have gotten to the point that it's gotten. That's just my opinion, but that's not here nor there, but.
Is that it, Commissioner? Thank you.
I'll make a comment as well if it's appropriate.
All right.
There's a process that goes on in terms of how we identify the issues that have occurred with this particular fire department. And we look at what begins to
I think
matter.
his mic is on.
And that's what we're currently doing with our fire department. We are, at the Lanark Village Fire Department, we're looking at the control of MSBU monies and how to facilitate a backup fire protection system temporarily as we move into the legal process to continue to get control over this fire department. It's active, it's involved, and it's relative, and we're on top of it, I can assure you. It's a process, and that process has to be worked out so that all the legal steps maintain good quality when everything is over. So that's where we are, and I can assure the public that we're looking at it very seriously.
Mr. Rod, you say
And by the way, this is something that has occurred years ago. We see some of the documentation in the reports we have gotten from an accounting company back in 2018 and prior to that time that showed beginning financial concerns in the fire department. So this didn't happen overnight. It has been escalating for quite some time. We now have a great deal of facts from which we can step off and move forward in getting this fire control under control.
Is that it, sir?
Thank you.
Okay. Since we're still under public comment,
Yes.
sir, who was the other one you said you had on the line?
All right, caller, you have your hand up, 274-1549. I'm going to unmute you. Please state your name for the record. You have 3 minutes to address the Board of County Commissioners. If you unmute on your phone, which I believe is *6.
Good morning.
Good morning, you're unmuted.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the
Hi,
record.
this is Debbie Jordan. Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate your time and listening to all the concerns, which I know so far are about the fire department. First thing I would like to say is the bylaws and emergency bylaws, if those are public information, I would like to make certain that I put in a request to get a copy of those immediately. This agency, calling themselves a not-for-profit corporation, are required to share those bylaws with the public. I'm part of the public. I am part of the proposed board, and it certainly is my concern, as it is everybody in St. James Bay, Lanark, portions of summer camp, and I want you to know that for the last 3 months that there should have been meetings, there were no meetings. There was no announcement of any emergency. There was nobody gets to see the bylaws. 3 months. There are other calls other than the one that was mentioned during the last meeting. On March 2nd, there was a request for the landing zone at Lanark Golf Course, which they did not respond to that as well. So it's not the first time that the department has not responded. We would like to know, there's about, last we knew was $124,000 in that fire department account. Is there anybody out there that's going to be taking a look at that, maintaining that, controlling that, monitoring that? We, the public, want to know that. And also, we'd really like to know when the emergency court order is going to be submitted in front of the judge. And we appreciate so much that you're starting to really show us some serious attention to this crisis situation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Jordan. All right, sir. Up next, Ms. Michelle Maxwell, Clerk of Courts. Good morning. All right. So up next would be Mr. Howard Neighbors, our Road and Bridges Superintendent.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning, Howard.
I hope all y'all had a good Easter weekend. We've been basically the last couple of weeks putting in pipes and road grading. I had a few people ask about the grass cut. We started grass cutting this morning. Still no inmates on account of they found some stuff on the yard with a search they had Wednesday, so we had no inmates. We didn't have them Thursday, we didn't get none today. So I don't know when we get them back.
Right. Anyone have any concerns for Mr. Neighbors?
I do, Mr. Chairman. Hey, Mr. Howard, this is Jessica. How are you?
How you doing?
Good. I don't know, I'm sure you're aware, and I was going to get with you, and I'll get with you. We could discuss this more after the meeting, but there was a car that ran into the fencing at Bruman Park over in my district, and I got a copy of the police report to give to Mr. Marone and Mr. Davis. But I was going to talk to you about maybe putting something there at that 90-degree, that turn.
Okay.
Maybe like I don't know, I'm going to get your input on it. Something there so that this doesn't happen in the future. The car hit the swing set pole, and if there are kids playing there, I don't want to even think about what could happen if a car rams through that fence and hits a child. So I want something there, some barrier of some kind.
Okay.
And we can discuss what your recommendation may be to try to prevent that from happening in the future.
Was that on Ferry Dock, or was it on Avenue A?
It was on Avenue A.
Okay, on that short curve.
Right there.
We could put something there.
Okay, I'll call you after the meeting and we can discuss it.
Okay. Another thing too, on the big boulder at Alligator Point, which I still think, is a safety issue. In that area also, the road is very narrow. I mean, the road's not very wide through there. But I think, if I ain't mistaken, y'all supposed to have a workshop or something on parking for Alligator Point.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I know the sheriff's department, they there every weekend working. So, I mean, there is a major safety issue for parking at Alligator Point, so.
Yes, sir, you're right.
Mr.
Any other
Chairman.
questions? Yes, sir.
Good morning, Howard.
Good morning, sir.
I wanted to get with you and we'll design a sign that we discussed earlier that we are proposing be applied at the intersection of Ballpoint Road and Alligator Drive. At that intersection right now, there's an announcement that there is the Ballpoint State Park. It basically says there's a dead end there. I'd like to amend that sign by having one of our county signs put there that says public beaches and an arrow that shows a left-hand turn to go to public beaches there. And we'll talk about that more in detail, and I think that may potentially alleviate a little bit some of the overflow that's going on in the current area of beaches there at Alligator Point. We'll talk about it later. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any others? Mr. Howard, as always, thank you, and thank your department for everything they'll do on our behalf.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll be seeing people beside the roads cutting grass and all those things that go along with maintaining. But thank y'all for everything that you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you all, Commissioner.
All right. Up next, Mosquito Control Director, Mr. Dewitt Polis.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Just wanted to come in and just touch base with you guys, give you an update on what's going on with mosquito control. We was over in Beach Mosquito Control last week taking some classes, and they had some technicians with the vendors that we use, so we took advantage of that and went and had our new Guardian ULV unit installed. So that gives 4 total trucks that's on the monitoring system that we have. And I still have the old Grizzly ULV unit. It's all manual. Have that for standby. You know, something happens, the internet goes down, GPS quits, we can still use that. So we have that. And we're in the process of collecting some Culex egg rafts. Now, what we're doing is just a hay infused trap. You place these special papers around the edge of it and collect the Culex mosquitoes. We're sending those to the lab in South Florida, the Florida Entomology Lab, and they'll be testing them for some resistance in our mosquitoes to the pesticide we're using. We've done this in the past, and we've had no resistance build up in our mosquito population, so that's a good thing, but there's always possibility. And we're actually, Scott and ourselves have ordered this. Actually, it's called a bottle bioassay test. So we're venturing into that ourselves instead of having to ship it to South Florida to get results with our new lab. We've got the equipment there. We took a class last week in at Beach Mosquito Control to start doing that ourselves. So you know, we're getting after it. But anyway, you've got a little report. There's some of the ditches that we do throughout the county. There's some on there that I have marked off that we just, such a shortage of inmates this past year that we just couldn't get to them. I mean, there was weeks that we had no inmates. So, and that's an older list of ditches. We've actually added dozens more to that list that we do. And this is just during the fall of the year. So, you know, with the shortage of inmates, the help, we just can't get to it all. Same situation with Howard that he's in. But we've started our trapping program. The numbers have been minimal at this point, but the cool snaps we keep getting is helped. So, but we are trapping. We hadn't met that threshold quite yet to start spraying, but I expect next weekend, with the temperatures being in the 80s and 90s, that's going to explode. So we plan on spraying 1st of May is usually. My part-time drivers that I have 2 of those that have been drug tested and they're ready to go. One of them has had some medical issues that I'm kind of waiting on him to see, you know, if he can be able to come back to work, kind of give him time. And so, you know, we're ready. Just want to let you know we're out there working. You don't get to see me a lot, but we're there and we're after it. So if there's any questions, any concerns, you know, feel anytime, give me a call. You have my number.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Dwight, I just wanted to compliment you on the excellent technological equipment that you have now in your new lab. When we had that open house a while back, we got a chance to see how you have your microscope hooked up to a computer screen. And it just enlarges the detail of that specimen so much more profoundly. And I was just very proud for our county that you have those tools now.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Boat. That's been a work in progress for years, and we've been trying to ID. You know, in the past we've talked about this, and the technology's there. People have been utilizing this all around us. And, you know, I was really happy to be able to, you know, help the county kind of step into the 21st century, I guess you would say. And, but we're going to utilize all that, and we appreciate the opportunity to do that. And we just are very thankful for our facilities. And we just want to thank commissioners again for that. We want to make the county proud.
Amen.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yes, sir.
Dewitt, I'd like to thank you for coming in today and not only bring the commission up to date, but the public as well. I've had some people talk to me about mosquito control, I mean, and the spray and all, when's it gonna get started, so it seems like mosquito numbers are coming, or like you said, are beginning to move upward, and people are expecting you to try to spray and contain that, but when the time comes, I'm sure everybody will be glad to see you back at it, and again, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you for the opportunity.
Hey, Commissioner Parrish, I thank you because it was your idea to have DeWitt come in, and maybe during mosquito season, we should have him come in at least once, one meeting a month, if the board thinks that's a good idea, just to give a similar update as to where we are in case there are any complaints or something that you need help from the board.
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll plan for the second meeting of every month, if
Okay.
the board is good with that. Thanks,
I'm
Commissioner
good with
Parrish.
that.
Sounds good.
Sir, thank you for everything y'all do.
Thank you.
All right, next, Mr. Fonda Davis, Solid Waste Director, and Parks and Recs, Animal Control.
Yeah. Good morning, Commissioner. I have, on my report, one action item. I would like to table it.
Okay.
It's in reference to the animal crematory.
Okay.
To just let you know that we're having trouble with it, so hopefully we can put it in the new budget.
Okay,
And I left you the price of a new one on the report.
okay.
That's basically all I have this morning.
All right. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Mr. Davis while he's here? Fonda, thank you.
Yes, sir.
And your departments for everything y'all do on behalf of the county. I know sometimes you probably seem like you're spread really thin, and you probably are.
Yes.
But what you do matters. You know what I mean? Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'll
Yes,
let
sir.
them know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Brother Dave, what one of them, if you can't get it repaired, what one of them cream over cost?
It's right at 60,000, Commissioner, $59,384.97. To get that one refurbished is half that, and it won't be completely refurbished. It's
How
just,
old is it?
it's we had it in, I think it was 2007.
2007, it says on here.
Time for a new one, isn't it? All right. You say,
Yeah, we are.
you gonna put it in your?
Yeah, we want to table that because we have an issue with one of the trucks right now. We do have a new one on order, but I called yesterday, they said not even in production, so
What?
we don't know when it'll come.
Are those chips? Need the chip, I'm sure.
Ma'am?
The chip shortage probably has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
Okay, make sure you put it in your budget.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Up next, Emergency Management. Ms. Pam Burnell, Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Ms. Pam.
We do not have any action items this morning for y'all.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Ms. Pam?
Y'all storm ready?
That's what I want to hear.
Yes, sir. If everybody in the county's got their plan, we're storm ready. This office is, we're storm ready, the office is.
I heard somebody.
We
say-
hope with our build a bucket, most of the county will be storm ready.
Yeah, the reason I keep them on action, I heard some on TV about we might get one before the season starts. That's what I heard.
Let's pray not.
Yeah, pray not. I'm with you, Pam, pray not.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Pam, while you're here this morning, I would like to ask a question. You've been holding several workshops and different things going on. Have those been going well, like you planned, had good attendance? Just to make the public aware.
The public information, I think we had a very good turnout. We we're missing some county agencies that didn't respond, didn't send anybody, but again, most of the county sent someone out here to participate.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Pam.
You're welcome.
And thank y'all for everything you do.
Oh, you're welcome. That's our job.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can we bring that gentleman back up, Mr. Putnam?
The what?
Mr. Putnam, can we talk to him before you go?
Want to take a break, can you ask him, Commissioner?
No, I wanna talk to him about this fire department.
Mr. Shoreline?
I did not hear the question, I'm sorry.
I wanna talk to him about the fire, I wanna ask him a question about the fire department.
He wants to ask Mr. Putnam to come back up so we can ask him some questions. It's not on our agenda, so I'm trying to figure out where we could fit that into, sir.
Well, I am going to be bringing up some issues regarding MSBU funding under my report, so if the board wanted to wait, we could do that. Or if the board wanted to, take Mr. Putnam now and allow Commissioner Lockley to ask some questions, I mean, that's up to the board. I mean, it's a little unusual. I mean, we haven't really done that before, but it's
But this is something like an emergency.
but it is an unusual circumstance, so it's just up to the board.
Well, the reason I'm asking, your report gonna be at the end, like, and I want to ask him something now.
Yes, sir.
Can we at least finish with the department director's report, sir?
Yeah, that'll be fine, if that gentleman ain't trying to wait.
Okay.
I'll wait. Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Eric Lebstrand, Extension Office Director.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, sir.
I do not have any action items in my report either. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Mr. Lebstrand? Mr. Eric, thank you, and thank you for the office for the valuable things you provide for this county through the University of Florida, through IFAS. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, up next, Mr. John Solomon, TDC Administrator.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Solomon, TDC Director. And it seems to never fail. Nobody has any action items, and I always do. This morning, I have 2 action items on the report. The first one is on Wednesday, April 13th, the TDC Board approved to recommend awarding up to $50,000 reimbursable to the City of Apalachicola for the repair of the Pavilion on Lafayette Pier that is used for fishing and observation that was damaged during a hurricane. And this would come out of the infrastructure budget portion of our budget.
And it was recommended approval by the TDC Board,
Yes,
correct?
yes, sir. On April 13th, the board approved it.
So moved to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
Number 2 on the report, Commissioners, is also on Wednesday, April 13th, the TDC Board approved to recommend using $35,000 to design and construct a dune beach walkover at the vicinity of 3rd Street on St. George Island, and I can let Ms. Aaron explain why that area was chosen.
Yes, there is actually a dune walkover on the opposing side on the east 3rd Street area, and then there's not one. This would actually be the area in between the villas and then the first residential house, further to the west, and it's actually the end of the commercial district. So that's just kind of encompassing all of the public access points that we have available to us within the commercial district on the island.
And the TDC Board recommended approval?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish. Second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote.
Thank you. Commissioners, only one thing other on the information items, one thing I wanted to actually say publicly is to thank the County Commission and Commissioner Parrish. The parking lines and crosswalks in downtown Appalachia have been completed. They were completed last Thursday, and they look excellent. We've been getting a lot of compliments, so thank you for the county for assisting the city of Appalachia in getting that project done.
So we do have a good relationship with the city of Apalachicola, huh?
We do.
Yes, we do. Thank you, Commissioner Bolt.
Yes, sir.
They worked good together on that one, that's for sure.
I agree.
Anyone have any questions or concerns for Mr. Solomon?
I have one item from my report, if the commissioners don't have any things for me. It's mostly technical in
Okay.
nature, but I need to get it on the record.
Okay.
It's the second page of my report, which is a separate attachment to your agenda, commissioners, probably to the back. Item F, there was a slight oversight by the TDC Administrative Office regarding the TDC Visitor Centers, Museum, and Vendor 2021-22 contracts. And John, if I make a mistake with dates, let me know. It is standard practice to bring the contracts to a BOCC meeting for review and approval at the first meeting of the new fiscal year. However, once the 2021-22 budget was approved, the contracts were fully executed without your review and approval. I sent you an email with all the contracts, commissioners, they're the standard contracts. So at some point you saw them. The problem is they had to be officially brought to the board and adopted during the minutes, and in the minutes that they were adopted and approved by the Board of County Commissioners. I just need approval to ratify the chairman's signature on those visitor centers, museums, and vendors 2021-22 contracts, excuse me.
So for last year?
Yes, sir. This is last year. We were ready into the budget year. They're already performing, doing their jobs, getting paid. This is more of a technical thing to have this on the record, Commissioner.
Okay. Motion to approve by Commissioner Lockley.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All, do you have discussion, Commissioner?
Yeah, Commissioner. You know, sorry, I just called him. Someone needed him. Has a question for him.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That is a 4-0 vote.
Yes. I think the issue is once COVID set in, we just kind of lost track of how we did things, basically. That's because we didn't have meetings on a regular basis, and it was just, So it was a slight oversight because John has been here many years with the, all the contracts in front of him in one big folder going over with the board, so.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Solomon.
We're good, John?
Very good.
Thank y'all very much, I appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. Ted Mosteller, is he here?
Oh, no.
No,
Ted has-
he's at
remember
airport
he told you the
inspection.
last meeting? I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Oh, he's at an airport inspection right now.
Okay.
Yes,
And,
All his items were informational anyway, I just.
okay.
yes.
Okay.
But he did inform me that he would be at that inspection all morning at the
Okay.
last meeting. Yes.
So,
Correct.
so before we take a break and go to the Planning and Zoning Adjustment Board, Mr. Putnam, could you please come forward? Commissioner Lockley would like to ask you some questions. And potentially others.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Putnam.
Yes, sir.
Right about longer now, we got a big problem over there on Lenore.
I would agree. Yeah, at current, yes, we're having some situations, but we are working hard to deal with that.
Right about, I'm not worried about, my main issue, and it's part of this job, county job, is for the safety of the people.
Absolutely.
I'm not worried about the other part. We deal with that later. Y'all deal with it later.
Right.
But I want to know, since the chief is sick, and I'm sorry the man's sick, sorry about it, I think he said his wife, I hope they get better. But I want to know if they got a staff way, you got a assistant chief?
Yes, we do. But she is also not at liberty to respond. And that's where the emergency bylaws come into place, because right now there's a succession order that has to take place.
Okay.
And at current,
I ain't worried about that part. You got anybody over there who's a member of that fire department can respond to these fires? That's what I'm trying to find out.
we did have until this group of women got together with Commissioner Bolt and all this action began in the department. No, sir, this is a volunteer organization. You must understand that.
Yeah.
These people do this out of the goodness of their heart. They're not paid to do this, okay? This group of women have gotten involved in this. These people have stepped down and walked away. They have ran them off.
Excuse me.
No, what I'm trying to do is trying to get this thing resolved and have somebody if something happens, and I hope it don't, to step up and answer the call. That's all the other part I ain't worried about. All we need now is somebody to answer them fire calls.
That's correct, absolutely. And I can't stand here and speak on behalf of the chief, nor can I speak on behalf of any other board members. I'm simply a member of the fire department, okay? I'm here to speak as a member of the public because of such. I don't have any authority to speak for the chief or the board or any of those people. But from my standpoint, I know that the inner workings are working hard to try to get someone to be able to respond to the fires. But we're having a serious problem with doing that with all the constant going on from the community.
So you think if I come over there and meet with y'all, you think we can work out something to get this?
I believe so. I believe that if we could quell all the animosity that's coming from this group and make everybody stand down.
Please stay on task. He didn't ask you anything about another group of people.
My purpose is to have fire protection. That's all I want to do, and the other part we have to deal with.
I can't answer that. I don't have an answer for that. I don't know how to answer that. Like I said, I'm only a member of the department.
With your other members, and one of us who ain't got nothing in the fight, come over there and meet with y'all, and let's get the people protected.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would love to do that. And if you've got an idea as a date and time,
I'm ready when y'all get ready.
Okay. All right. Well, by all means, I'll get together with the rest of the members and I'll get a date and time set for you.
So,
I would love to do that.
If I may say, and I'm not trying to cut you off, Commissioner Lockley, I understood Commissioner Lockley wanted to ask some questions. We're trying to keep it, and I think his main concern is, without going to HIPAA, without going to any of that stuff, we need to know that whoever's involved in the current fire department is going to be responding to calls. I think that's what the commissioner's after. We might have misunderstood your representation here today. Did you come to the board? I know you're under public comments,
yes,
talking about being in some kind of emergency order, bringing us Florida statutes, how it should be done.
Yes, sir.
So in my mind, you look like you're representing that board and that chief. So I think that's where the questions come in.
And that's the reason why I wanted to go ahead and state that for the record and make that clear, that I do not represent any of that. I'm simply here as a member of the department and as a member of the general public to make, comment on what's going on here. We do have active members of the department that are fully trained and certified and ready to stand up and answer the call. As far as being able to actually put them to doing so is going to take some effort in the actions of the board, which is what we're working towards right now at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's our biggest concern. I think that's what Commissioner Lockley was trying, not putting words in his mouth. We need to know that when dispatch calls, somebody's answering.
Absolutely.
Point blank, period.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with no other issue, has nothing to do with anything else going on. Somebody's responding.
That's correct.
Period.
And
that's the only thing we've ever had a problem with.
Yes, sir. And with due respect being given, this is one instance where Lanark hasn't answered the call out of millions, in my knowledge. So, I mean, things happen.
Was that all your questions, Commissioner? Sorry, I wasn't trying to cut you off. I was just trying to add to the conversation.
We will. We'll get together. I'll get together with the other members and the trainees that we have that I've spoke of. We'll get together and discuss a date and time, and I'll be in touch with the board. We'll get that set up.
Mr. Chairman, I want to talk a minute, please.
Okay. All right, hold on just a second. Commissioner Bolt.
In District 2, you have my 100% support with regard to this fire department. There is a process that has to go through. I realize fires don't go through processes. They just happen.
They happen.
They absolutely happen. And we're there to support the absolutely happened. Understand that we are in control of looking at the money with regard to the Caribel coming in to help us. With regard to a volunteer organization, that's you guys. You guys have to do that. We are not authorized to get in there and micromanage and police and bang on the table for a volunteer organization. That's not right.
That's correct.
So, but we are here to control the money. And when we have seen this disobedience and this dysfunction that has occurred, it's pathologic and there's a big cancer there. And now we as the county are going to get in command control with regard to that money and how it's working and how it's spent. And we'll facilitate that for you. At the same time, we are going to use all the resources we possibly can help to bring forth your board and making sure that that fire department is up and functioning. We've got to get in the building, we've got to get you guys organized, and we've got to look at what you have, what the resources are. And we're there to do that.
Well,
Commissioner Lockley, I appreciate you partnering with us, particularly as we look at the fact that we are a big village, not just districts at this point in time. So I'll be there with Commissioner Lockley, and we'll be glad to just continue to make this thing happen for you.
Yes, I would appreciate
that. But
that.
allow the process to go forward. I know it seems bureaucratic, and I know it seems really like we're spinning our wheels, but I'll guarantee you we are not in the background. The staff here in this county are really working hard to make sure that we get an outcome and a good, viable board for you.
Well, my main concern is that the same as everyone here on the board, is that the calls get answered when they come in.
Amen. We'll do that.
Mr. Chairman, Mr.
Yes.
Putnam, before you leave, Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir, please.
I'm not sure, maybe the board members are sure, I'm not sure what was the answer, and it's kind of a yes and no question. Are there certified firefighters at Lanark that are ready, able, and willing to answer emergency services calls? It's just a yes or no answer, then an explanation.
Well, it's both, because yes, we do have certified firefighters that are ready and able, but
And
the
willing?
willing part, at this point, that's kind of up in the air, and that's the problem, and that's what we're dealing with within the department at the
See,
time.
that's what I thought I heard, is they're not ready, able, and willing to answer the calls at this point, and it sounds like no one is ready, able, and willing.
Well,
And that's
they're-
why I just wanted to clarify. Whatever the answer is, the answer is. I'm not trying, but that is what I had heard, that there's no responder at Lanark Village ready, able, and willing to serve at this time. So I just want to make sure that was on the record. If I'm wrong, Mr. Putnam will tell me I'm wrong.
No, sir, like I said, we have people that are ready, and they're trained, and they're able to do it, but the willingness is the issue here. So that's what we're dealing with within the department.
What's stopping the willingness? Are you, in fact, you have a dysfunctional, disobedient board right now?
No, sir, what's stopping the willingness is the fact that every time a fire call is handled and someone is dispatched out of the department, there's an entire group of people that goes around with cameras and films them, puts them on Facebook, puts them on social media, makes negative comments, makes derogatory comments, creates an entire civic group devoted to blasphemy all over Facebook and social media about the actions of the department. And whether they're trained or untrained, or how good they did or how bad they did, it has to stop.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Putnam.
We'll
Thank you, Mr.
follow up.
Chairman.
And let me say something, I'm not trying to take over your district.
No, not at all. I see a
Commissioner
partnership
Bowe.
here.
And all I'm trying to do is get service for the people, just in case something happens.
That's exactly right.
That's why I wanted to go in there. If it takes negotiations, somebody got to start. This is a young lady back there, got her hand up, Chairman.
Yep.
We've already started, no, you need to come forward. You cannot talk from back there, I'm sorry. We need to hear you if you're gonna talk. And this will wrap up this section of the meeting.
My name's Tanya Putnam, member of the Lanark Fire Department. In response to your question, I'm currently working with David and Michelle to find out when training is, so that I am ready, able, and willing, not to be a firefighter, but I will be a first responder. I don't see my little bitty self holding a fire hose. But I will be at the next training for a first responder so that someone can respond to something, whether it be fire, vehicle emergency, or whatever it may be. But you have to wait for training. And of course, with them not getting their MSBU funds, they don't have the funding for that training, so I'll probably have to pay for that out of pocket, which I do not mind because it furthers my credentials as well. So, right now, they don't have anybody to respond. They do need Caribel to help with mutual aid to respond so that our chief will have, the time to spend on himself, and we can get in there and help him figure out how to fix all of this.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I
Thank
want to
you.
be very clear, no indifference to Mrs. Putnam, but we have not stopped the MSBU.
No, not
That's-
yet.
that's
Right.
taking place. So,
Right,
but
so
you said-
stopping it will hinder the
Oh, yeah,
future
because you said it
training.
since they don't have any money. I mean, we don't know how much money they have in their account, because we were waiting for a meeting to get the financials, and we
Right.
have not received that. So, but the board has taken no action to stop the.
Hold on, just a second, hold on. Let him finish
So I
talking.
just wanna
You
clear
can
that.
approach, but let him finish
There's
talking.
still a treasury,
Yeah, no,
report
I'm just
being
saying the
done
board
every
has taken no
month. It's
official action
just
to
not
stop
being
MS
given.
Any MSBU, but commissioners, let me just say this now, so we are taking an action, we've turned it from public comment, we're turning it into a public hearing, which is kind of one-sided to some degree, and I mean, I think the point was, the simple question which everybody has asked, is there someone there to respond? Basically, what I'm hearing is no,
No.
not at the moment. So, we need to continue on with what we have going on, which is reaching out to Caribel, Alligator Point, basically splitting the district in half for now, until we come up with a more long-term permanent plan to bring a resolution to this problem. I warned the board, and forgive me, I'm not the attorney, but I see what's coming out. I warned the board of being accused of being one-sided here, of having a non-agended, basically public hearing about Lanark Village Fire Department, and I respect both Mr. and Mrs. Putnam, what they've stated. I respect what they say, but Commissioner Lockley was trying to get to the bottom of
Right.
how can we fix this situation, I believe. And
We
I
need
think
to fix this.
Yes.
This is an emergency, it need fixed.
Yes, we do,
Yeah.
and
That's the
currently
bottom
there's
line.
nobody
I
to
mean,
respond, but there will
Somebody
be.
house get caught on fire, somebody get burned up,
Mhm.
somebody have a heart attack.
Yes.
This need to be fixed. It's taking too much time.
Right.
It's taking too long.
Well, it won't take long for me to get
I'm hearing you,
training.
Commissioner
I'm
Lockley,
already
but
halfway
this
there.
moment, this instant is not the form, and it's not the way that it's gonna create a solution to the problem. I mean, if we wanna fix it, then we could have an emergency meeting of some sort and just bring everybody to the table, let's have a very frank discussion, and come, and agree to a solution, and we move on.
Let's get that emergency starting
But-
right now. We need
but
that meeting to happen.
But before we get there, we need to.
That's a motion.
Yes, a motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the motion, a second is?
We're going to have an emergency hearing meeting with regard to the Franklin County Commission concerning the pathologic problems that we have at St. James Lanark Village Volunteer Fire Department.
When?
When do you want
How
that
about
to be?
tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock?
You can't do that. You have to publicly notice meetings
Okay, I
so many hours
understand. I
in
just want the
advance.
passion to get out there to know we're going to take command control of this thing. We'll do it according to procedure, but let's get it moving.
And who do we
Mr.
want?
Chairman, may I
You
weigh
made the
in?
motion, sir.
I did.
There is emergency service coverage, as Mr. Morone had outlined at the last meeting, being provided from Caribel. After the meeting 2 weeks ago, I went and tracked down Mr. Hartman at his other job in the evening, and had him call me after he finished that other job, and we started the process and the communication essentially for an interlocal agreement, mutual aid agreement between the county as the governing board, not only the Lanark MSBU district, but all 7 of the fire MSBU districts. You're the governing board. So there will be an agreement. I was just checking my phone during the meeting. I spoke to him this morning. I'm waiting on the draft to come in live. So there will be coverage provided to Lanark Village in the St. James area out of Caribel. In terms of, if the board wants to have an emergency meeting, then we'll give due notice. Typically, you need to give at least 48 hours notice before an emergency meeting, but I'm not sure what you're going to accomplish, which is not already in place. We've got the first responders, we've got fire, all of that is in place right now to provide coverage for the citizens in Caribel. In terms of having a emergency meeting and trying to work out whatever has occurred over the course of the last couple of years between the two groups in Landmark is probably not going to happen, because they seem, from my interaction and discussions with him, they seem at this point to be at loggerheads. And so typically, if they won't agree to a solution, then only a judge can order somebody to have a solution. And I've been doing my due diligence and getting prepared to try and, figure out what is the correct remedy to seek from the court if it should come down to that. But again, if the board wants to have an emergency meeting and bring everybody to talk, I mean, I guess something positive could come out of it, but without having first responders and people that are ready, able, and willing to respond, I don't know how we can make them do that. We don't have the authority to order them to volunteer, but anyway, I just want to make sure the board knew that emergency coverage was there. So,
I mean,
my thing is, I'm thinking about public safety.
Oh, yeah.
I ain't worried about nothing else but public safety. We got agreement. That's good. But what if I have them in Caribel and want to have them in at the same time? It's a possibility.
I agree.
And you could have 2 fires in Lanark Village.
So the purpose of Franklin County Board of County Commissioners having a hearing brings together an amalgamation of all the people to come here from those villages and talk with us about their concerns. I think that we need to have that heart passion to listen to them. I think we ought to get the fire marshal's office down here before May 3rd just for this discussion. I think that they need to look at what other kinds of volunteer fire departments have had this kind of impairment in the state of Florida and what was done then immediately.
I don't think anything was done through the fire marshal's office.
Well, somehow, there's got to, what's the fire marshal's office doing? The first word in their name is fire. Now, we need to get them to
Commissioner
give us some
Bolt,
education about
with all
what to
due
do.
respect, they have responded to this county that they're not going to get involved in volunteer fire departments.
We want education. We don't want, that's the involvement. We don't want necessarily their hands on, but certainly there are problems that have occurred like this in the state of Florida, and what have been the solutions there? I think we need to have bring the people into this room and have this full discussion, because before it's been very spotty over the last several months.
So
You remember how passionately I declared a fire emergency last September on this very issue, and here we go again.
Well,
So what steps will be taken at this public hearing? What ordinance are we going to be adopting, what that we're not already doing? I mean, I hate to be frank, but what are we going to do differently than what we've already done?
This is a listening meeting. This is for the people.
Then that's a workshop, that's not a hearing.
Well, whatever it is, I want the people here to be able to know that we're here very concerned about this, taking notes, and perhaps having some priority ideas come out of it.
I see, like I said the last meeting, I'm not getting in the middle of the Hatfields and them coals.
Right.
What I'm doing is,
We're right in the middle of it, but go ahead.
we're right there.
Doesn't matter what you intend, that's where we at.
What I want to do is get fire protection. All this, who got the money, how much the money, who got this, I'm the chief, I want to be in this group, want to be the boss. I ain't with all that. I'm with somebody answering them calls so the public can be safe. That's all and I ain't, I'm 71 years old. I ain't come to hear no argument. I want nothing to mess with my heart condition. See, all I want to do is get some public safety. That everybody grown who's gonna handle them fire holes in there. Ain't the children over there handling the holes. All we want to do is say, we gonna put out a fire if we start. We gonna respond to a sick person. That other stuff we can deal with it later.
But
that's all I'm at.
I agree with you, Commissioner Lockley, and what Commissioner Bolt, let me ask you this: how have the results been when they've been when the fire department has held their meetings? What kind of meetings were they? Were they calm and everybody had a chance to speak and it ended all calm and nice?
The meeting that I attended on April 12th was called by the Friends of the St. James Lanark Volunteer Fire Department. At that meeting, there was general discussion about the fact that the fire department and its board of directors was dysfunctional and impaired. There was big concern about what are we going to do when we have a fire. And there was a lot of discussion about not only that issue, but what is the state of the equipment that it's in? I mean, are the fire hoses even viable? Do the fire trucks even operate? What does the bunker gear look like? Nobody has any idea about what's going on. There was another discussion about how are we going to control the money that goes into that fire department. A, from the MSBU funds, and B, the checking account that's there as a result of the MSBU funds, and how will that money be controlled going forward. Those were primarily the four major discussions that came out in that area. And I'm here to advocate answers for all of that. That's the purpose of what we're talking about today.
And my point is this, based on what Mr. Putnam stood right there and told you, that there's a clear animosity between the two groups. Bringing both of them in this room, my opinion, will not resolve anything. That is not the way to fix it. The way to fix it is basically following what Commissioner Lockley say. Make sure we have a path for the safety of the people, which the attorney is basically stating that's what we're doing right now. And then we have smaller groups of staff and people meeting, there has to be some mediation along the way, some way to get this resolved. But I'm telling you, for other issues besides the fire, I've seen it happen. If you bring the Hatfields and the McCoys into the room, you're not going to produce anything. It's not going to be a productive meeting, if I could just say that. The questions you want, as Commissioner Bull, I thank you for the power you think I have, but I cannot demand a state agency come meet in front of this board. I'm sorry. We have planned the State Fire Marshal Office. It's months out that they made this appointment. To say we're going to get them here sooner, I'm sorry, y'all, I don't have that kind of power.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
As it relates to the fire marshal's office, having read their presentation that you sent all the commissioners, this is what they're going to present. It says nothing about making recommendations for volunteer fire department.
Nothing.
Their main goal and the main objective in that presentation says that this is the governing board.
That's right.
They say that 4 or 5 times in the presentation. If the commissioners have read what Mike sent out, that's all they say. They're not going to come here and give you recommendations of how to solve this problem or how to solve that problem. Their presentation says that we are the governing board. We are the one that tax the people and disperse the money. These fire departments are 501c3 nonprofit groups. Some of them public, some of them private. You know, I don't know how each one of them is set up. The main problem is you don't got no board members. And it takes board members to appoint new board members to get a viable board. So you got these two competing groups out there saying we need to do this and we need to do that. And none of it makes a hill of beans because it doesn't comply with the bylaws of these 501c3 corporations. That's what controls everything. So, I mean, we can talk about all this we want to, but we're not moving forward. I agree with Commissioner Lockley, and we all agree with that. We've been talking about this for months. We want somebody over there to respond to fires, which the governing board is supposed to make sure they have adequate fire protection. I mean, so I'm with you. If Hatfields and McCoy is here for a public hearing, ain't gonna solve nothing. This one's gonna talk about that one, and that one's gonna talk about this one, and just back and forth. And that's what happens in these meetings in Lanark Village.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have a board. If you ain't got the 3 members and one of them's gone, now you only got 2 members. I mean, that's the nucleus of the problem is you don't have a board to vote and appoint new members to this board and try to move forward. Until you get that, you're not moving forward. Because we cannot go over there and take over a 501c3 corporation. That's not what the governing board does. We can't legally go over there and make people resign. We can't legally go over there and appoint a new fire board. That ain't the way it works. But we do have an issue over it. I agree. And I'm just like Commissioner Lockley. Everybody, and I think the rest of the commissioners, we want them to have adequate coverage.
That's right.
I agree with all of that. But how do we get there?
So the thing is, when dispatch calls, we want somebody to answer and respond.
Well, how about the sheriff for now? How about
Sheriff
we
doesn't
temporarily
respond to
look at that?
fires.
Is that a potential?
Sheriff doesn't have the equipment or the personnel to respond to fires.
Everybody's walking, I don't want anybody to walk away and think that we don't have a plan. We seem to be ignoring what we've been talking about here for 2
We
weeks.
do
That
have
we have Caribel there to respond for now, and we're trying to make, I said, Renee actually told me that, I'm sorry, Renee's the chief, the dispatcher was here this morning. She said people from Alligator Point had called her some of the fire departments. So we have a temporary plan in place to try and deal with the emergencies out there. I don't want people to walk away and think that we don't. This board and the staff, we've been working at this diligently to make sure there's coverage. I mean, commissioners, we have a plan, so we keep say, well, what about this and what about that? Like we don't have a plan. We have a plan. We're working as fast as we can, as best as we can with the restraints that we have. But we can't, and this board has said it before, you can't make people, you can't make volunteers do things. And you heard right here that they have certified people, they have people that can do it, they're just not willing. So I think what Commissioner Bolt is trying to say, let's find out why they're not willing.
Under the current leadership, Mike.
Yes.
Under the current
hear you,
leadership,
yes.
they're not willing.
There's no leadership.
Well, it's, I wouldn't say that,
That's an
Commissioner. Well,
opinion,
that's,
sir.
see, that is what is driving the problems between the two groups.
Exactly.
Statements like that. I think
Precisely.
we need to sit down and like what, maybe you have Commissioner Lockley, you talk to one group, Commissioner Bolt, you talk to another group, and then we come together as a board and kind of vent what we all did, and then we go from there. But it's this thing about, you know, we're better than you, we should be the ones in charge, and they're like, no, we're in charge, listen to what we say. That's what's causing this problem, commissioners. But we can't add to the problem, we need to fix it. And so I don't think bringing everyone in the room is a good, I think, I basically love what Commissioner Lockley said. Maybe he talks to one group, Commissioner Bolt, you talk to another, and maybe we sit as a board and hear what both of you have to say, and we find a solution or a resolution to this issue as our county attorney works diligently to make sure there's coverage as we move forward to try and get a permanent resolution to this problem.
Let's get that judge to intervene and get this board under control that way.
So, Commissioner Bolt, do you withdraw your motion from earlier about a public hearing?
No, I don't.
Okay, then you need to flesh out exactly what your motion is then, because I do not know what it is.
My motion is to bring the public, the Hatfields and the McCoys, or the do's and the wants, and the people who, the general public of St. James and Lanark Village together to discuss their concerns with the county on what's going on with the fire department issues. Let us take notes and see where we are. And I think that the people need to be heard by this governing board, the Franklin County Commission, with regard to that fire department. So that's my motion, to have that particular forum to occur.
Okay, so
It can be controlled.
you're missing the criteria for your motion. If we are having a meeting, when are you wanting to have the meeting? What time, what date? What's the subject of the meeting other than just meeting together? Are you wanting a public hearing? Or you wanting to have a workshop? I need to know what your motion is so we can go forward.
I want a public hearing so the people can be heard about their concerns. And I'd like that public hearing to occur in forward with the legal process of notification. If that's a 48-hour notice, so be it, and we have it thereafter. Perhaps the public hearing can be scheduled for latter part of this week or early part of next week in the afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I will not be available at those times. Just note for the record. I have to have a little bit more notice for my other job.
I'm a second it. We got good people. You got good people on both sides. I know it's a fuss.
I do too.
I done been here a long time.
Yep,
I done seen fusses go long.
I agree.
And you got good people on both sides. But we got to work something out to get the fines took care, to get the ambulance first responding took care. And that's all I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Help us so we can sleep at night knowing that Lanark Village is safe.
That's right.
That's all I want. I second it with that.
Okay, so are you talking about potentially having a meeting on this Friday? I mean, it's your motion, so, but there has to be a clear motion. I'm not gonna recognize it till we know what we're doing. Point blank, period.
Okay,
Not gonna happen.
my motion is that we schedule a meeting this coming Friday afternoon to have the public come to the Franklin County Commission and express their concerns with regard to the fire issues that are occurring at the Lanark Village St. James Fire Department at the current time.
What time would that meeting take place?
1:30 p.m.
Okay, and that's your motion.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Lockley, you second that motion.
I do.
Okay. And I have learned a lesson. At our next meeting, Mr. Morone, I will be giving you something for us to consider, so we know what our formal practices are in meetings, and we can make sure things are agendized properly, or we will not be discussing them going forward, or you can replace me as chair, but I will not continue down this path. Doesn't matter how good, diligent they are. It's improper. Any more discussion before we vote?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
can I say something?
You can.
This is an emergency.
It's been an emergency for the last year, sir.
Well, we should have been.
And that's what makes it worse. It's
Okay.
been going on and on and on and on, and we have to nip this thing in the bud right now.
Don't see this as happening, but that's
I do.
okay. It's my opinion.
And I think a lot of people are talking to me that it has to happen. I'll bet it'll be standing room only here on Friday afternoon.
And I bet we don't know any more after that meeting than we know now.
We'll take notes and get that fire marshal down here to listen to it. That may help them in their May 3rd report.
Commissioner Bowe, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
This is a Franklin County problem. It's not a fire marshal problem.
I know, but they've got the resources. Their first name is called fire. I'm not asking for solutions. I'm just asking for
This is Franklin
resources.
County
Now,
problem.
I'll put it on the record again, I do not have the authority
I know.
to demand a state agency appear here at a particular time on a particular day. I just want that on the record.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I oppose.
I oppose.
I oppose.
Motion was turned down, denied. by
I want the
3-2
public to
vote.
know we really, really tried on this.
Let's take a 5-minute break before we do P and Z.
Hi, I'm Kara Landis. I'm a professional realtor in love with St. George Island. When my husband and I and our dogs moved here in 2002, it was the beginning of an adventure that has never grown old in a community that is amazing. If you're thinking about moving to St. George Island or investing in our world-class real estate, then this community will be as important to you as the sand and surf.
Well, Kara to me is much more than an agent. She's become a friend, and since we bought the house, we've needed work done, and she knows everybody there is that can help us with that.
One of the key elements for the historical growth and value of St. George Island real estate is the fact that it's a great place to vacation and to live. The beauty of the Gulf of Mexico with its white sand beaches and blue sky has always been a magnet for me. It was love at first sight. As your realtor, I can help educate you on the various aspects of buying and owning coastal properties. From taxes to coastal setback lines to where to find the best oysters, it's all part of being your realtor.
Too often our friends tell us of it being a hardship to buy a house, and the agent was gone as soon as the closing. We've had quite the opposite experience with Kara.
If you're looking to buy or sell real estate on St. George Island, I'd love to work with you. Please call or text me at 850-653-7753.
First annual Caribel Riverfront Festival, hosted by the Caribel Chamber of Commerce, is Saturday, April 23rd from 10 until 6. There will be live music by the band Night Shift, plus the fabulous and zany Fishy Fashion Show. There will also be pirate-themed fun with Captain Davy's Adventure Show, and a Ramblin' Reptile program with snakes, other exotic creatures, and even an alligator. Kids will enjoy a free bouncy house and mini train rides. The streets will be filled with music, dance, arts and crafts vendors, and more. This event is funded in part by the Franklin County TDC, Caribel CRA, and our generous sponsors. Come learn some history about Apalachicola from its former ghostly residents at the annual Ghost Walk held in Chestnut Street Cemetery for one night only on Saturday, May 7th. This highly popular event will start at 6:30 p.m. Admission is $7 per person, and kids 12 and under are free. For more information, visit ApalachiColaHistoricalSociety.org. Don't miss the annual Ghost Walk May 7th at the Chestnut Street Cemetery in Apalachicola. This event is funded in part by the Franklin County TDC.
David Newton. I'm the new primary care physician in town. I moved here from Montana, and I'm currently working at both Weems East and West Clinic. I'm here working as a primary care physician, but I also take care of my patients in the inpatient setting. So if you're hospitalized here at Weems, you'll see me as well. Or if you need to rehab after a significant event and you need to participate in our swing bed program, I'll also be taking care of you. Even though I only work in the Weems Memorial System, I'm actually employed by Tallahassee Memorial Physician Partners. I'm the Franklin County branch. They've established a partnership, which I'm very grateful for, which allows me to be an employee of Tallahassee Memorial and work very closely with the numerous resources that they have, as well as working in the area that I wanted to work in, which is rural family medicine and practice in Apalachicola. Once again, I'm Dr. David Newton. If you have any medical concerns or want to talk to somebody about medical conditions you're experiencing, just give me a call here at Weems and I'd love to take care of you. If you see me out in public, I'll probably be carrying around a little pug named Dr. Pepper. We'd love to talk to you. So just stop and say, hey, what's up? And love to have a conversation with you or just shoot the breeze.
Fisherman's Choice Bait and Tackle has all you need for your day of fishing. They have fresh and saltwater bait, an unmatched selection of mirror lures, and a wide selection of Berkeley Gulp, plus fresh and live bait and all the rigs and tackle you need for a great day of fishing, including brands like Penn and Shimano. They are also the only bait and tackle shop in Franklin County where you can get a fishing license. And don't miss their wide selection of marine supplies, coolers, and more. Fisherman's Choice is located at 330 Highway 98 in East Point. Can't be near the beautiful beaches of Franklin County? Tune in to Forgotten Coast TV, Franklin County's local cable channel. Watch shows and videos about our beautiful area, including our beaches, museums, shops, and more. Watch it wherever you are on Roku and Amazon TV. Also, make sure you like us on Facebook and subscribe on YouTube. Forgotten Coast TV is Beachin' TV. It's Captain Finn here, your favorite captain, by the way, and I've got some big news for you. You can now watch me on Roku streaming TV. So how do you do that? Well, you gotta go to Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device. You can see that right here at the bottom of the screen. Go do a search for it or find it in the travel section. Now, Forgotten Coast TV features programs about our beautiful piece of paradise right here on Florida's Forgotten Coast. So make sure you add Forgotten Coast TV on your Roku streaming device and watch me, your favorite captain, Captain Finn, on How to Forgotten Coast like a local. Our beautiful piece of paradise. Please make sure you visit our local shops, restaurants, galleries, and take some time to experience something different and take a fishing trip or tour with one of our experienced guides. Our neighbors and their businesses are the heartbeat of our community. Thank you for visiting, and remember to shop local, eat local, and fish local. This message is brought to you by the Apalachicola Bay Chamber of Commerce.
Franklin County Board of County Commissioners now back in session. We're going to skip from our current agenda in the Planning and Zone Adjustment Board report to an item on Ms. Erin Griffiths and Attorney Schuller's reports to help the contractor in the essence of time that's also involved in the discussion, which is Dewberry. Ms. Griffith, please proceed.
Okay, this is actually part of my project update section for my report. Restore project update, SGI stormwater improvements. There's a formal request to FDOT for the county to assume maintenance of the retention ponds and streets at the Y, starting at the base of the causeway on St. George Island. County Attorney Michael Schuler has an item on his report related to this issue that can be discussed now, and Dewberry did have a scheduling conflict where they would not be available after 11:30, so that's why we are discussing this item now.
Okay. Attorney Schuler?
Mr. Chairman, last week I received a call from the Dewberry representative, Josh Baxley, regarding the project just described by Ms. Griffith. Essentially, the issue that FDOT described to Josh Baxley is as part of the stormwater management restore program that the board has on St. George Island. We need to use the FDOT stormwater ponds. FDOT had essentially said, yeah, we think that is probably the most appropriate place for the stormwater on the county roads to be placed. However, they thought it was also a good idea, not just maintenance of the area by the county, but ownership of the entire DOT right-of-way, which would include the 2 paved lanes for the entry and exit off of St. George Island and the stormwater retention ponds. The question that's not yet answered by FDOT to Mr. Baxley was, well, is the county going to be gifted that right-of-way or have to purchase the right-of-way? I had asked Mr. Baxley to go back to DOT to see if they could get a clarification, because essentially FDOT, the way I understand it, and I'll have Mr. Baxley jump on here shortly, because what I'm saying technically is hearsay. I haven't talked to the FDOT rep, but I thought I would at least lay the field so the board understood the issue. FDOT would not clarify with Dewberry whether they wanted a purchase or a gift of the property to the county, but they did want to receive from the county essentially a request for the transfer of that right-of-way. Again, the entire right-of-way, not just the stormwater maintenance ponds. Then once DOT received that written request from the county, they would inform us whether they would gift the right-of-way to the board or ask the board to purchase it. Seems kind of a clumsy way of doing things in my book, but that seems to be the structure. So, Mr. Baxley, are you on the line?
He was. Yes, he is. Go. All right, there he is.
All right,
Sorry about that.
Mr. Baxley, it's Michael Schuler. Can you hear me, sir? Mr. Baxley, can you hear me?
Yes. Well, we can't hear you. You're kind of cutting out. Can you get in a better spot?
Let me turn on my phone. I'm using the computer.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm not understanding
it's a hollow. We have a very hollow sound from wherever you're at.
Mr. Baxley, do you have two microphones turned on?
He just muted again. Is he calling on you?
He's not calling on me, but I can call Caleb. We can put him on speaker.
Yeah, wherever he was at was a bad connection on his end. So,
I haven't spoken with Caleb, so I don't know what Caleb would or would not have to offer to the board. But what I've described to the board members and the public is my understanding of Mr. Baxley's communication with FDOT. So I believe the pertinent question before the board is the stormwater project in order to move forward. It seems like FDOT has set the stage so that the board must request of them the transfer of the right-of-way, which would include, again, the 2 paved lanes for ingress and egress to St. George Island, in addition to the stormwater management ponds. And then wait to hear back from FDOT whether they're going to gift that property to the county or require a purchase and sale. Because that seems to be what FDOT is requiring. All right, is he on the line?
Speakerphone now, so let's try this.
Mr. Baxley, can you hear me?
Hey, Josh, can you hear us?
I got you.
Okay.
Hey, Josh, did you hear the presentation that I made to the board in its entirety?
I did, yes.
Do you have any corrections or additions to what I just said to the board?
No, that is correct. And the main point, and just to reiterate what you already said, is that DOT will not give us a definitive answer on whether this will be basically a deed over of the right-of-way and the right-of-way in its entirety, both roadway sections and the stormwater ponds, or if it's going to be a sale. And their communication to me is that in order to initiate the process, the county needed to draft a letter to DOT requesting ownership of that right-of-way, and then it goes before a board or committee that DOT has to decide how that property is going to be transferred over.
So I have a couple of
Yes, sir.
questions. This is Ricky Jones. I represent that district, Mr. Bexley. One question, or one thing that considering, and I know we can't control how DOT wants to do. I understand that. They have in their current 5-year work plan that they're going to be designing next year, and in 2025 repaving that whole section of road. So they're looking at, if they transfer it to the county, they're potentially, unless they're going to leave it in their 5-year work plan, they're saving $700,000 by transferring it to the county. The other thing is, I know that when there was an issue several years ago that started us doing our own trash pickup on the bridges, FDOT actually gives an amount of money to the county for doing that service, so they don't have to do it anymore. And the reason I bring that up, these stormwater ponds are exactly what they say they are. They're FDOT stormwater ponds. So even if we take them over, there's still going to be maintenance has to be done to those ponds in relation to the water draining from the high hump of the bridge. They are still going to be FDOT drainage ponds. So in lieu of the county performing that service for them, I think there needs to be some discussion as well about us getting monies to be able to do that.
Agreed and understood.
Those are my only things.
And Mr. Chairman, I would add for the board's information, when Ms. Griffin and I were discussing this, she did bring to my attention that the roads in question, if they are transferred or purchased by the county, either way, they would both be eligible for 2 different grant funds that the board would have available for improvement and maintenance. Is that correct, Ms. Griffin?
That's correct. They would qualify for SCOP and scrap. So, so we would have a mechanism to actually, resurface those roads.
Yeah. But those are still at the discretion of the FDOT.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know, because I'm very thankful we finally got Hickory Dip Road in East Point on their 5-year work plan. But we've applied for it every year since I've been a commissioner, and this is now my 6th year. And we finally got it on the work plan. So that is true, and I'm not discrediting that, but it's not an automatic thing, though.
Okay, so the request of the board would be a motion authorizing a letter either signed by the chairman or Mr. Morone. I'll be happy to participate in the drafting, to FDOT requesting that they consider the transfer of the described property to the board, and we can certainly add in the information that the chairman has put on the record as well concerning savings to the state if they transfer it to us. Hopefully they'll understand that means if you transfer it for free, then you'll be saving a lot of money, because that's what I believe I heard the chairman saying.
So moved.
We have motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion?
Look, every time the state gives they give us what they don't want when they get tired of putting their monies in it. And it always costs us money. We be crying about money now. And then they got the death that they want to sell it. I don't think it's right. We the low county, or low restrained county. We tell them we ain't got no money to people no for that, and tell them we really don't want it. That's what we should be telling. And then if they give it to us, we got to take it. But I don't see where we need to be just agreeing for them to talking about buying stuff. No, they got plenty of money. We ain't got no money.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I oppose.
That passes 4-1. All right, so next we will go to our Planning and Zoning Adjustment Board report. Ms. Courtney, you ready?
Yes, sir, I am.
Please proceed.
All right. right, let me share my screen. Can you guys see that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so first on the agenda is a variance request for 832 East Gorey Drive. It's consideration of a request for a variance to encroach 1.3 feet into the 25-foot setback to accommodate 236-inch landings outside the entryways as required by the current building code. This is at 832 East Gorey Drive in St. George Island, submitted by Wes Brown, and the Planning and Zoning Adjustment Board recommended approval.
Okay, pleasure of the board.
So moved.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Next, we have a critical shoreline applications. The first one is, there was a correction. Originally on the application, it said that it was a 538 square foot single family dock, but it's in fact a 1,376 square foot dock proposed at 283 Magnolia Bay Drive for Tim Alexander. The Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval contingent upon state and federal permits. Here's the dock.
All right. Pleasure of the board.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote.
Okay. Next, we have 518 River Road, which is consideration of a request to construct an 845 square foot single family dock consisting of a 9x5 access walkway, 23x8 terminus, and 42x5 boardwalk, and a 32x8 boardwalk with a 15x10 platform located at 518 River Road, Caribel, Florida. This was submitted by Caribel Environmental for applicant Mike Audette, and state and federal permits have been received. So this would just, the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval.
Okay.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay. Next, we have consideration of a request to add a 12x25 roof over an existing boat slip and a 17x47 roof over an existing boat slip, and an addition of two 2x23 foot catwalks located at 1583 Alligator Drive. Pull that up. The request was submitted by Megan Rufa, agent for RFT Assessment Management LLC. State and federal permits have been received, so the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval.
So move.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt,
Second.
second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, next we have, let's pull it up. Next we have 1931 India Harper Road for an 836 square foot single family dock consisting of a 170x4 access walkway, a 26x6 terminus, and 3 pilings placed 10 feet from the terminus located at 1931 Indian Harper Road. This request was submitted by Garlic Environmental for the agent for Tim Riley, the applicant. The applicant would be contingent upon state and federal permits, so the Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval contingent upon state and federal permits.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote.
Okay. Next, we have the rezoning and land use change applications. Thanks to our new GIS map, it's easier for me to have maps for you guys to see what it's currently zoned.
So while she,
And,
I'm sorry, Courtney, while she's enlarging that, Commissioner, just want to let you know, that picture that she used came off of your GIS, the county's GIS map.
Good.
Okay, so this one is for 1 Wildfire Lane. It's consideration of request to change the zoning of a 5-acre parcel of land at 1 Wildfire Lane, Apalachicola, from R3 single family estate residential to R2 single family mobile home. Part of it is already zoned R3 and part of it's zoned R2, so they're just trying to get the entire parcel zoned the same. This request was submitted by Donnie and Donna Crum, and the P&Z board did recommend approval for public hearing.
So moved.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish, second by Commissioner Lockley. And this is requested to schedule a public hearing, correct?
Correct.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Okay, and then last we have a Franklin County building, the TDC building, that currently sits on a piece of property that it's zoned, has 2 different zonings as well. It's to rezone the 3-acre parcel located at 959 US Highway 98 East Point from R1 single family residential and R4 single home industry to Z1 public facilities to put current building into compliance. The request was submitted by staff, and the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval for public hearing. I did want to mention this, that concerning this item at the meeting, there was a discussion. So I wanted to go on the record and state that before the county took possession of this property, it belonged to the state and was used by the state as a government facility. There is no underlying intention with this change. With the new GIS map in place, the staff noticed that a few of our county properties are zoned incorrectly. So we're not trying to set a precedence with this change. We are merely or essentially setting an example by putting this property as it's currently being used into compliance by requesting a zoning change.
Commissioners, we will be bringing a lot of your parks forward because it was never apparent before the adoption of these maps, and actually having the color coding correct is important going forward. So there'll be quite a few properties coming before you that we're getting corrected.
I mean, Commissioner Lockley, if I'm wrong, wasn't that it was the Highway Patrol? And then is that where the school's first alternative school was too? Because I believe Coach Lane worked out there for years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the old Highway Patrol.
Yes, sir.
Used to get your license and stuff.
So it's been in public utilities for years.
Okay. You make a motion to approve, Commissioner Lockley?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
And that is all I have for you guys, unless you have anything for me.
Anyone have any questions or concerns for Ms. Courtney? Thank you, Courtney.
No problem.
Yep. Sir, we have at least 10 minutes. I'm sorry, Attorney Schuler. We have at least 10 minutes before the 11 o'clock scheduled public hearing. I would like to, if it's okay with you, to go on to Ms. Erin Griffith's report and try to get some of those action items done.
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay. Just make sure it's proper, sir.
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, Ms. Griffith, please proceed.
Okay, the first item on my report, the original project scope of the 0.9-mile Scott Timber Island Road project included the widening and resurfacing of the existing roadway from 20 feet to 24 feet, the addition of 6-foot grass shoulders, drainage improvements, additional guardrails, upgraded signage, and pavement markings. The project engineers are recommending a change order to include the addition of 55 linear feet of concrete traffic bridge railing and retrofit of the vertical face to cover items noted as out of compliance in the last bridge inspection. The attached change order will bring the guardrail on the bridge into compliance with FDOT standards and cost an additional $35,000. The change order will also extend the time for substantial completion to May 6, 2022. The attached change order for $35,000 to Pygate Construction has been reviewed by FDOT, and the cost of the additional scope will be funded by the attached supplemental grant agreement for the project. Board action to adopt the attached resolution of authorization, approve the supplemental funding agreement for the additional $35,000, and approve the change order for Pygate Construction for the addition of the bridge railings and support.
And we can do all that with one motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I just got a quick question, and this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
gonna go under that grant that their FDOT's funding.
It
Just wanna make
is.
a note for that for the record. Thank you. So move.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Moore,
Second with a comment.
second by Commissioner Bolt. Please proceed, Commissioner.
Thank you. You know, as you arrive on that bridge and leave the bridge heading, I guess it would be westbound, there's a significant bump drop off, as if they did not finish back asphalting that area. Any comment about that impairment?
I will be happy to ask the engineers about that.
Okay, yeah, it's just
And get back.
very odd. It didn't look like it was finished on that bridge slope.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there for some signage with FWC relative to Graham Drive. and
Uh-huh.
I noticed as I came back and forth that point.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote. Please proceed.
Next item, number 2. At the last meeting, the board opened sealed bids for 2 4x8 message boards on self-contained trailers with solar panels, Wi-Fi modems, and remote program. Bidders were to provide a full description of the product specifications, any pertinent brochures or manufacturer material, along with a price for the requested equipment. Upon review of the 5 bids received from Safety Zone Specialist, United Rentals, Transportation Solution and Lighting, Universal Signs and Accessories, and Dana Safety Supply, 2 bids, Universal Signs and Accessories and Safety Zone Specialist, did not include the requested full description of the products with specifications or manufacturer materials in addition to price. The bids were released to the Sheriff's Department, and as the incomplete bids will be rejected, the next lowest responsive bid was determined to be Dana Safety Supply at $31,524.58. Board action to reject the incomplete bids from Universal Signs and Accessories and Safety Zone Specialists, and to issue the attached notice of award and subsequent purchase order to the lowest responsive bidder, Dana Safety Supply.
So move.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bolt.
Comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Ms. Griffith, did you make a record of the recommendation for rejection of the how they were incomplete and why they're being?
Yes.
You did? Okay, very good,
Yes.
thank you. I just didn't
Okay.
hear that as part of it. You talk faster than Alan
Oh,
sometimes.
okay. They did not include any specifications or product description.
Okay, and those were required by the bid
They were.
specifications, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
So, can I ask?
Yes, sir.
So we got to tell them they didn't do that? I mean, that's what, we gonna send that back to them, say you didn't?
We will post a notice of award to our county website. Yeah, and we don't typically, inform bidders that it's usually on them to actually, look at the website and see who was awarded what.
I mean, if they thought they didn't fill it out, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous.
Next item, as reported at your last meeting, the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity announced it is accepting project applications through June from the 8 communities impacted by Hurricane Michael for the state's Rebuild Florida Mitigation General Infrastructure Program to increase community resilience and fortify critical facilities. Consultant Tracy Busby of Management Experts has been assisting the county in vetting possible projects for this grant program. The attached task order with Management Experts will allow Ms. Busby to complete and submit the grant applications on behalf of the county at a contracted rate of $90 per hour. Should a grant be awarded, Management Experts would receive the $90 per hour up to the eligible 5% fee for administrative expenses and management of the agreement. At this time, there are 4 possible county projects: construction funds for a new emergency operations center, the replacement of the windows at Weems Memorial Hospital, the roof replacement and structural sealant of the county courthouse, and improvements at the Franklin County Jail. This list may change as projects are vetted with Rebuild Florida. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the CDBG MIT task order with Management Experts.
So move.
A motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lockley. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's a 5-0 vote.
Item 4, in July of 2020, the design funded by the FWC Boating Improvement Program was complete for the improvements at Old Ferry Dock Boat Ramp. The project design and permit includes the removal of the existing 204 linear feet of concrete seawall breakwater around the existing basin, the removal of the existing 12-foot by 19-foot concrete ramp, riprap, and sediment, and the replacement of the seawall breakwater with 219 linear feet of steel sheet pile with a concrete cap, the construction of two 20-foot by 43-foot concrete boat ramps, and construction of a 4-foot by 51-foot finger pier between the ramps. The county received the attached permit last week, nearly 2 years after the application was submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers. Once the permit is signed, the county can proceed with a grant application for construction costs. Board action to sign the attached Army Corps permit for the improvements at the old ferry dock boat ramp.
So moved with a question.
Okay, we have approval, motion for approval by Commissioner Bolt.
Second with comment.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Bolt, please proceed.
You know, I remember one day about 3 years ago, Commissioner Lockley and I were standing at the Buddy Ward dedication boat ramp, and he said, you know what this is missing? It's missing a hitching post for your boat. Is there any hitching post that can be embedded in this project while we're at it?
But what it's going to be, Commissioner, is that we're actually making the ramp double width. And there's going to be a 4-foot wide, 51-foot finger pier in the middle.
Yeah.
Someplace to tie up. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, there we go. Good. Thank you.
Yep. Commissioner Ward.
I just want to make a note for the record. I know that I've been contacting, and this is your district chairman, but people I'm sure have been contacting you. They've also contacted me about the deterioration of this ramp. And I just want to make a note for the record that we've submitted an application 2 years ago to the Army Corps of Engineers to get this dock refurbished. And here we are 2 years later actually going through to get the permit to be able to go through the process. So I just want to make a note for the record that when I was a kid, my mom and dad always said it takes an act of Congress to get things done. And I just want to know for our community, it's not necessarily our timing as this board and our county staff's timing, but it's timing of the federal government and everybody around the legislators. So I just want to make a note for the record on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
To complement what you just said, that's the reason now that we have initiated the building of this information structure in our website about the status of each project. And I think that'll mitigate a lot of concern when we have that forthcoming information. We are a county almighty of special funds and grants, and this is a good example of how we have to wait. I look forward to that website.
More discussion before we vote?
They done that one fast. It usually take 5 years.
Well, I'm glad they're doing it
That's
fast
true, too.
this year.
Yeah.
That's all I'll say.
Army Corps is notoriously slow.
If that's fast, we will take it all day, every day.
That's just very true.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. And Ms. Griffith, before you proceed, I know that Mr. Baxley is currently assuming the role with Dewberry on behalf of the county. But when you talk to Mr. Clay Kenny again, please express my gratitude for his help in this process, because it's been a long time coming. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Took
proceed.
a lot of squeaky wheels on their
Yes.
side to
Yes,
get
ma'am.
that permit finally issued.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next item, at the March 15th, 2022 meeting, a notice of award was issued to lowest responsive bidder Robertson Incorporated for alternate bid A for the 3.466 miles of widening and resurfacing of C30A starting at 13 Mile and running eastwards towards Highway 98 in the amount of $3,445,863.82. The construction contract is attached. Board action to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the attached construction contract with Robertson Incorporated for the SCOP C30A improvements project.
So moved.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Parrish.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Second by Commissioner Ward. I thought I heard you, but I wasn't sure. I'm sorry. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. And Ms. Griffin says it is now 11 o'clock. We'll come back to your informational items, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, so my paperwork back in order. We're now scheduled to have a public hearing on some amendments to the golf cart ordinance pertaining to St. George Island and East Point. Attorney Schuler?
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
sir, ma'am.
before
Proceed, Mr.
before
Chairman.
Attorney Schuler proceeds, I had a copy of the draft ordinance in each of your binders for your
Okay.
review as Attorney Schuler presents this.
Okay.
Proceed, Mr.
Yes, sir,
Chairman.
please.
All right. This is a public hearing for the board to consider making some amendments to the St. George Island Golf Cart Ordinance and the East Point Golf Cart Ordinance. This public hearing I came back to the board because there was an issue concerning whether or not the appropriate enforcement for the two existing golf cart ordinances should be penalized as a county ordinance violation or a uniform traffic citation. Board authorized this public hearing. One of the things that I had done in order to strip out county level enforcement was proposing that the board remove the driver's license requirement and reduce the age limit to 14 from 16 because that would make it consistent with state law. However, after further consideration, I'm recommending that the board leave the driver's license and the age restriction in the ordinance as is. And so the only change that I am recommending that the board consider this morning is the clarification that the penalty for the violation of the golf cart ordinance would be a uniform traffic citation penalty and not a county ordinance violation. So that is the purpose of today's public hearing. Does the board have any questions for me before you proceed to public comment?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Schuler, just to clarify, this ordinance that was presented in the paper, we're actually changing that back so that the golf cart driver is 16 years, a licensed 16 years of age or older.
That is, Mr. Chairman, may I? Yes, ma'am. What I'm recommending is in the draft ordinance in paragraph number 1, where it says age of operation, golf carts may not be operated on public roads or streets by any person under the age of 14. I'm suggesting that we strip out and remove that paragraph from the proposed ordinance, and what that would then leave would be basically the amended penalty provision, which provides that the penalty for the violation of the two golf cart ordinances would be a uniform traffic citation and not a county ordinance violation.
So just to clarify, the age of the operator has to be a licensed driver, 16 or older, and if they get caught, then they get a uniform traffic citation, not an ordinance of the county's violations.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct, okay. Commissioner.
Just want to make a clarification. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I just wanted to be sure that, shouldn't we say that what Commissioner Ward just said in the ordinance, they have to be 16 and they have to have a driver's license?
It's currently already in the ordinance.
It is
currently in,
okay.
The two existing ordinances presently have a provision that requires a driver's license and a minimum age of 16.
Okay.
This proposed, but that's not actually required by state law. So when I was stripping out the county ordinance violation provisions, I was going to recommend stripping that out as well. I have since learned that actually the uniform traffic citation penalty would apply in the scenario, even with the increased local standards. So for that, among other reasons, I am recommending that the board not change the current ordinances so that if you adopt the ordinance as I have explained it to you this morning, when all the smoke clears, and if the board approves it, you must be 16 years old with a driver's license to operate a golf cart either in the areas approved on St. George Island or the areas approved in East Point.
How about a carryover to Alligator Point as well? Should we be thinking about that, or is that appropriate?
Well, today we're having a public hearing about these two.
Only this, okay.
Commissioner Locke, did you have a question, sir?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question.
Yeah.
I guess so. What about the rest of the county? I mean, you just got you got St. George Island and East Point listed. I was wondering about the other unincorporated areas in the county.
Mr. Chairman, if I just provide some background information, the board in the past has conducted traffic safety studies at two additional areas. Essentially, it's Bluff Road outside of the city limits here on the Apalachicola side, and then Alligator Drive down at Alligator Point. And as I recall, the outcome of those two traffic safety studies, the recommendation was not to put golf carts on either of those two locations. I don't remember all the reasons set forth by the engineer, but essentially it's a single lane road, and the folks are not driving the speed limit as it is. I mean, it's posted at 35, but they're not driving 35. And the engineer, I believe, had said that in order to safely put golf carts in those areas, they recommended that you reduce the speed limit down to 15 miles per hour, and the board decided that that was not feasible or prudent, and therefore did not proceed forward. But that's my memory of the two traffic studies in those two areas.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to let you know that I'm going to get the rank wrong. Captain Jim Ward, the sheriff's traffic chief, basically he has a deposition. He wanted to be here, but he had a deposition at 10:30, and he would say he would try his best to come back in case you guys had any questions for him from the sheriff's point of view, you know, on this matter.
All right, anyone have any more questions or concerns for Attorney Schuler before we open up for public comment? All right, so we can move on to public comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, at this time, we're open to receive public comment. If you want to comment on this, please come forward and state your name for the record.
And you did not have to fill out a speaker card in order to speak at a public
No, you do not.
That applies to those online also, sir.
Yes, Ms. Donna, please state your name for the record. All right.
Thank you, Michael. This age 14 scares the heck out of people on St. George Island.
Yes, it does.
I have 5 kids and 9 grandchildren, and trust me, the difference between 14 and 16 is a lifetime. This is a safety issue. Thank you very much for making the change. And I'm sorry I wasted your time agreeing with something that Michael does.
Anyone else in the room wishing to speak publicly about this? Now's your time. All right, Mr. Marone, see if there's anyone online, please, sir.
Anyone attending Zoom that would like to speak on this, please use the raise hand feature on your device, or I think it is *9 if you're on your phone. Let me verify that. If you'd like to speak on this item, you did not have to fill out a speaker card to speak on this particular item. Again, *9 on the phone if you, for the 2 callers that we have and the other 3 logged in by smart device. If you would like to speak, raise your hand. No raised hands, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have one here that someone asked me to read into the record, the correspondence they sent to me. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. This is from St. George Island resident Ms. Gail Rigglemeyer. This is the content of her email that she sent to me about this issue. Hello, Commissioners Michael Marone and Michael Schuler. Due to having to work, I've been able to attend next week's public hearing about possibly changing SGI's and East Point's golf cart ordinances. Therefore, I'm sending this email to have my voice heard. My request is that the county and sheriff's department's existing ordinances continue that reads that only individuals with a valid driver's license can operate a golf cart. Changing it to 14 years old would be a disaster and run the risk of someone's getting badly hurt or worse, killed. We've already experienced an adult getting killed from a golf cart incident or accident on St. George Island. We don't want anyone else to get injured or killed. Since I can't be in there, please read this email into the record. So that's what I've now done. Okay, so no more public comment. So it's, I guess, back to the board, correct?
It is back to the board. If there are any further questions for me, I will address it. If not, you're in a procedural position for a action on the requested amendment to the ordinance by motion and second.
And the only amendment to the ordinance, as I understand it, that we are looking at taking today is changing the violation from a violation of the county's ordinance to making it a mandatory or enforceable traffic citation, correct?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. There was apparently some understanding or maybe even a prior practice where sometimes it was a uniform traffic citation, sometimes it was a county ordinance violation. Right. That discussion recently occurred, right. And then after I consulted with all the parties involved, it was agreed basically that we would limit the penalty just to the uniform traffic citation. So I don't think we have any concerns about how it will be interpreted and enforced moving forward, but for the record, 16 with a driver's license.
Amen.
All right, so pleasure of the board.
So move to approve.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Parrish, changing this language to make it a traffic citation and not an ordinance violation. Any more discussion before we vote? Oh, yes, sir.
I don't know, I ain't got nothing to do with it, but what is the legal, I know it's 16 for the license, but learning permit, ain't that 15?
A learner's permit's 15.
15, yeah.
All right.
No. But they also have to have somebody 18 years or older in the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's not just 15 by themselves.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add I'm sorry, Commissioner, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think the confusion may stem from the Florida statute.
Yes.
Florida statute states 14.
Yes, it
But
does.
the local government, the county government can be more stringent if they so choose, which we
Right.
choose to do so.
Right. All right.
Yep.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That is unanimous. That concludes the public hearing.
Oh, it's been so long since I got a license.
And been a little while, huh, Commissioner?
Yeah, it's been.
All right, Ms. Griffith, we are back at your informational items.
Okay, yep.
If you will.
Okay. The first one's going to be Island View Park. After the last meeting, Franklin County sent an email to the Florida Division of Emergency Management requesting confirmation of policy as it pertained to issuance of a notice of award for a project when only one bid was received. Franklin County followed all proper procurement steps to receive competitive bids. The bid solicitation was advertised in both the Panama City News Herald, the Apalachicola Times, posted to the online governmental bid platform Demand Star, and actually I received confirmation too that they circulated that solicitation to 497 recipients who actually subscribed to their site. And it was also circulated to the State of Florida's Office of Supplier Diversity, and they circulated the list of their vendors, which were circulated to 90 different vendors that they maintain. Let's see, there were 9 contractors who requested copies of the bid specifications from Dewberry Engineers and 4 contractors who attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting held on March 17th. FEMA deemed the procurement to be non-competitive due to the receipt of only one bid. It is unfortunate the FEMA policy focuses on the quantity of bids versus the steps taken to ensure open competition. The policy places small counties at a disadvantage in being able to move projects forward quickly. The repair is a complicated project for contractors to bid, as the repair will require multiple subcontractors and a wide variety of construction materials. As additional advertisement is unlikely to generate any additional bids, the county is filing an emergency non-competitive procurement justification with FEMA in hopes that a waiver will be granted and a notice to award can be issued. So that's bad news on that project, but just wanted to make you all aware that we are working through some of
I
those.
do have something I want to add to that, Ms. Griffith, if it's okay, for the rest of the board to know. I don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but after Ms. Griffith had let me know last week about this situation with the way it's being approached with FEMA, saying, look, you guys only got one bid, you can't just take one bid. Well, one bid's all that responded. I've reached out to Senator Rubio's office. That was before Easter, and I told them that it would probably be, several days, because we, if they'll help us, we're fine whenever they help us. Wasn't in a hurry, but we did need to try to get an answer, and just express to them the same thing that Ms. Griffin has expressed here to the board. We've done everything we can to make this competitive, to allow people to place bids, but now we're being penalized because the project is so complex that it requires someone to have several subcontractors working with them. Mm-hmm. And in our environment and in our location, we're being told that we got to wait even more time. So I don't know, I haven't received a call back from Senator Rubio's office yet, but I do expect it sometime this week. And we'll get that information out through Mr. Morone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for doing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the shocking thing is that was it FEMA? Someone at FEMA said there's another small county that went out to bid 3 or 4 times, and they only got one bidder each time, and then they made them go back out to bid again.
Yeah.
That just makes no sense. I'm sorry.
Yep.
you know, if obvious something is wrong, that needs
Yes.
to be fixed on that end, you know.
It's a very unique project.
It is.
There's supply chain delays, you know, everywhere. So, I mean,
Whole time.
honestly, you know, everyone is busy right now. There's also been an uptick in construction spending. So, you know, we're kind of in unprecedented times, so.
And I was there when they had a pre-construction meeting with the 4 contractors, and they did diligence. They looked over sheet plans, they walked the site, asked questions, so there was a lot of due diligence prior to this.
Please proceed, Ms. Griffin.
The next is the existing FBO lease with Centric Aviation began in November of 17 and ends on October 31st, 2022. The county is beginning renewal negotiations with Centric and will meet with both the FAA and FDOT for review of the proposed contract terms. John Collins is actually setting up a conference call with both of those agencies.
Okay.
They just gonna do one? They ain't gonna send that out for bid?
It's a renewal, Mr. Noah. There was an option for renewing the FBO contract, and the county is, to my knowledge, we're very happy with Centric's. We're working with that.
Go ahead.
Okay, next item is jail windows. Franklin County submitted a $200,000 community funding request at Congressman Neil Dunn's office for the replacement of the windows at the county jail. The existing security windows are the original windows which were installed when the jail was built in 1989. And the next item is Fort Coombs Armory Fire Suppression System. At the last meeting, bids were opened for the Fort Coombs Armory Fire Suppression System. 2 bids were received and both were nearly $500,000 over what the county had anticipated. County staff have requested the architects to see what can be trimmed down from the project to pull the cost down. At this time, a revised project scope is being explored, which will limit the project to work necessary to the installation of the fire suppression system and the subsequent paint repairs once installed. That's it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Can we get more clarification back on Centric aviation issues? I have a discussion, it's kind of vague in my mind, relating to the fact that they do receive income from fuel dispensing.
Yes, and that's actually what we will be discussing with the FAA and FDOT, because there was some discrepancy there with the T-hanger rentals.
Yes,
And we need to
that's
get
another
that
subject.
corrected as well, because as the lease is currently structured, Centric actually manages the lease agreements and also receives all of the rental revenue from those T-hangers, and it is, in essence, it subsidizes them. You know, that's the one way that Franklin County is able to actually get a high-quality FBO. We don't actually have, you know, tons of fuel sales or, you know, tons of airport traffic, but that subsidy actually makes it worthwhile for them. And they are a high-quality agency, so we're very pleased with them, but we do need to find a way to structure the lease agreement where FDOT and FAA are pleased, and it may end up being where, you know, each month they actually collect all of the T-hanger revenue, they submit everything to the airport, and then the county in turn would then, you know, release a percentage of those revenues back to the FBO. So it's mainly just kind of getting everything correct on the accounting side.
Yes, and that's what I would want, so that we have a clear pathway for FDOT and FAA for future funding that airport in those areas.
All right. Anyone have any questions or concerns for Ms. Griffith before we proceed? You did good. Nobody's adding anything to you at the meeting. Right?
Yeah.
That's how you know if you did good, okay.
There you go. Mr. Morone, please proceed with your report.
Well, I'm in trouble then. At your, my report is a separate attachment to your packet, Commissioners. At your March 1st regular, that should be regular meeting, here I go. I informed the board that Ms. Lori Sykes Mills, your ship administrator, would not continue providing administrative services for the SHIP program after the current administrative contract expires on June 30th, 2022. The board agreed to request proposals from Apalachicola Regional Planning Council and Community Action Agency, as these government support agencies have experience with housing programs. You have those proposals before you today for your review. I'm recommending adding representatives from both agencies to your May 3rd agenda to allow for a short presentation and a question and answer segment. Then you guys could make a decision after that, at that meeting or the following meeting. But we do need to move along so that they work with Lori for a good transition period, you know, as we head to July 1. So board action to authorize representatives from ARPC and Community Action Agency on your May 3rd agenda.
So moved.
Discussion.
Oh.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Ward. Go ahead, Commissioner Lockley.
Oh, look here. That AP, whatever they name.
ARPC.
They're people from out of town. They don't live in this county. We already getting them work. Everything, can't nobody do nothing but the ARP, or whatever it is. We need to keep some work in Franklin County and give Franklin County folks some work. Some other people got workers. They got 50 states. They got the whole state of Florida to get them something to do. Let's get some of these Franklin County folks something to do.
You know, I agree with the familiarity of Franklin County people. They know their natives. They know the lay of the land. I think somebody familiar with our geography and our people would be an excellent candidate for that position.
Mr. Chairman, I'm all for our local people having jobs, no doubt, but I believe Ms. Lori Schweitzer Mills is local. Only issue is it's a very tedious program that the person that does it, I'm not trying to discount our citizens, and I would love for our citizens to come forward and you know, be a part of this, but it's a lot of documentation, a lot of information, a lot of work involved with how this program works. And I mean, I'm all for hiring a local individual, but I think the reason why we're at this point now is because there's nobody local available to or wants to do this particular type of work.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, a couple of things. Yes, it's better for agency to run it because, if one of their representatives doesn't show up, you're not bound by a person, you have a whole agency to back you. But the reason I'm asking you to put it on the May 3rd agenda, commissioners, is to do just that, to question them and say, are you going to hire somebody local to run it or not? Or this is your opportunity to tell them what your preferences are, and then you guys make a decision on how they answer you. Basically, that's the point of what I'm asking the board to do.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And also, out of the $300 or something thousand, there's only like $30,000 that's allocated to implementing the program and running the program. You got to rent a place, you got to have all the equipment, you got to have staff, and you're not going to be able to, an local individual, ain't going to be able to do all that for $30,000. If you do, there ain't going to be nothing left over for you. So you use entities like this and having them come in, us being able to ask them questions. I know at the last board meeting, Commissioner Bolt and Commissioner Lockley said they wanted an office here in Franklin County for people to be able to go to and make applications and all this stuff. So, I mean, these are questions that we can ask whenever they do come, and with that, I'm gonna make a second on Commissioner Ward's motion.
Okay, so the motion to approve was by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Parrish. Any more discussion before we vote on this presentations from these two groups?
Yeah, they need an office down here. I mean, when you're dealing with ship, you're dealing with people getting help for repairs and stuff. You're getting help for down payment assistance on housing. Well, if they ain't got no, what a person gonna do? If most of the people today, old folks don't do computers, and the old folks is the one who getting their house fixed. A lot of old people get their house fixed. If they don't got no office to go to, they're gonna have to go way the AP or thing up in Quincy or somewhere, or way up there. They got to pay somebody to take them up there. I mean,
I'm sorry.
They ain't got no money. If they had the money, they'll fix their own house.
I believe in a proposal, they both talk about local offices. What I don't know is how many days, but again, this is your opportunity to question them and state, no, we want somebody here 5 days a week.
There you go.
Whatever the board wants, this is what it is. So I hear what Commissioner Lockley said, next meeting would be your opportunity to state these preferences to the two agencies and see how they answer.
They've been doing it here for the last 30 years. Somebody been doing it
Yep.
I'd like to also remind the board that whoever does do this on our behalf, all the documentation they are doing is the responsibility of Clerk Michelle Maxwell in her office. Every bit of that paperwork. So just as a reminder to the board, what we're talking about when we're talking about this SHIP program. Without any more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? It's a 4-1 vote. All right, please proceed, sir.
Yes, sir. The next item, at your April 5th, 2022 regular meeting, Dr. Jacqueline D. McMillan provided an overview of the Rural Opioid Technical Assistance Program, known as, ROTA, which delivers evidence-based training and related materials tailored to the needs of the rural communities in the Florida Panhandle. Dr. McMillan discussed the harm reduction strategies, impact of opioid use, destigmatizing substance abuse, opioid use, and overdosing, along with risk factors for opioid overdose. After board discussion, there was a motion to add a memorandum of understanding for the ROTA program for your review and consideration. Board action, if you so desire today, if you reviewed it, to approve the memorandum of understanding with ROTA, contingent and Attorney Schuler's review. If you're satisfied with the presentation, if you had no more questions for Dr. McMillan, that's, you asked her to send it, she did, and it's here for your review.
Pleasure of the board.
I just don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't understand what the program is aiming to accomplish and how it's going to accomplish its goals, protocol, procedures. And I questioned Dr. McMillan when she was here the other day, but what exactly are they doing with this program, and exactly how is it going to benefit the residents, the citizens of Franklin County? I mean, it says training who? The people that are doing opioids, or? I mean, I don't understand the benefits of the program. I don't understand.
Well, would the board prefer I table it and have her appear again to answer additional questions?
I don't understand when you, even reading their presentation, Mike, that we had on our iPad that was sent to us. I've read all that stuff. And it never, I didn't reach a
clear understanding
of what the overall goal of the program was, and how it was going to reach these people that are on opioids, and how are they going. There's no mention about sending them to rehab. I mean, what are they going to do? Just talk about it? I mean, how's that going to benefit someone that is addicted to opioids? I mean, I don't understand. If I understand the goals of what we're trying to achieve here, other than have a program, I understand they're going to have a program, but what kind of program? How are the people going to benefit? I mean, if you're going to give everybody Narcan in case somebody ODs on opioids and you bring them back, to me that ain't, I mean, it's saving a life, but it ain't helping the individuals that are addicted to these type stuff. I mean, I don't understand how the overall project works, and I really don't.
And I support that. It is very vague, isn't it?
Well, it asks for a memorandum of understanding, and most of the time that's a way of, quote, getting the money to operate a program. But I like, if I'm gonna sign them as a board, we're gonna sign a memorandum of understanding. I want to understand what the program, what are they trying to achieve? How are they going to achieve those goals? And I'm just stuck here for somebody asking for a memorandum of understanding. I don't have an understanding of how the program's going to work, what they're actually going to do. Are they going to set up an office here where people that's addicted can come to them for help? I mean, what do we? I don't understand. I read the presentation and all that, and I asked questions the last time she was here, but it's just kind of vague as to what we're doing and how we're doing. And I know we had a big opioid settlement and all this, so there's monies available to have programs, but what are they actually wanting to do, and how's that going to benefit the people that are strung out on these opioids, I shouldn't use that word, that are addicted to these opioids, and how are we gonna make a difference, is what I'm saying? Are we just doing a memorandum of understanding just to be doing it, or are we doing it in response to somebody's addiction and trying to help the people?
I'm pretty sure there's funding that's gonna be tied once we do sign if we sign the agreement, and her providing that technical assistance.
Funding for what?
Okay.
What are we going, are they gonna set up shop here and have people come to their office and actually help these people, intervention? Are they gonna try to get them to rehab? Is this a way of paying for their rehab to get these people off of these, that's addicted to these opioids? What are we doing?
Okay.
While I'm asking.
So,
maybe somebody else can tell me.
I concur that implementation seemed very vague.
Okay.
You know, how they're actually gonna perform the program.
I'll change my request to say, I ask the board table this item, and I reach out to Dr. McMillan and say, look, they're still not clear, so either another presentation or some explanation, more in-depth explanation as to what she would be doing for the county to help with this addiction. If
Well,
that's
the motion to tell her to come back and explain it better.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
There you
So
go.
we're tabling it for now and asking her to come back to explain this again, correct, Mr. Lockley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your motion, all right? So a motion
Second.
to do that from Commissioner Lockley, a second from Commissioner Parrish. Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous. Please
Aye.
proceed.
Thank you. Last month, Chairman Jones was asked to sign a letter of support for the Northwest Florida Estuary Water Quality Protection and Restoration Project, which, in their words, will make the Panhandle communities more competitive for Federal Restore Act oil spill recovery funds. I'm quoting from their letter: Panhandle counties will partner with the University of Florida's Center for Coastal Solutions, which is based out of the Herbert Wortham College, if I pronounce that correctly, of Engineering. CCS leverages data scientists, biologists, economists, environmental engineers, and strategic university and research partners to expand the foundational understanding of Florida's environment, economy, and public health. In this partnership with Panhandle counties, CCS will use its existing monitoring tools and technical expertise to provide data-driven support for communities seeking restore funds. Applicants will be able to leverage the water quality and economic analytics capabilities of the UFCCS team to prepare regionally impactful coordinated project proposals with a higher likelihood of funding approval. End of quote. This project should generate a substantial return of investment for Panhandle communities and the state, providing Florida with a much higher share of restore funding. Chairman Jones may have more additional information on this project. All I am doing is seeking to ratify the chairman's signature on this letter of support. Doesn't cost anything, it was just a letter of support, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, so to help clarify for the board and the public, there was a meeting called by Senator Broxson in conjunction with our senator, Senator Osley. What they're attempting to do is form a unified ask for restore dollars for all the counties in the Panhandle to do a region-wide septic to sewer program for the health of residents in our communities. Again, this is being done, Senator Osley was in the room that day just like I was in the room. And so the stuff that they're doing with the University of Florida, I'm pretty sure that's already in the budget for this year. Senator Broxson was able to get that in the budget, going to the university to help develop the plan for the ask going forward. And I can assure you that I've also been in contact with Senator Osley's office using one of the entities under the ARPC, which is 850 strong after Hurricane Michael, not the Regional Planning Council, but another entity under it, to make sure that all of our small rural counties are involved, with Senator Osley fully supporting that, to know that we're going to get our fair shake if this does go forward and actually be a plan. And I made it pretty abundantly clear as your representative in the room that our ask might be disproportionate to our size, but they need to know that going in. So and this is just a letter of support for the original $3 million that's a potential legislative appropriation that has not been signed by the governor yet.
So moved.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner
Second.
Pierce, second by Commissioner Bolt. Discussion?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How many counties this gonna include?
I think there's 9 of us here in the Panhandle.
Yeah.
It's basically from Wakulla going the other way, all of us on the coast.
So we're gonna be taking them off separate things.
Yes,
That's a good
that's
thing.
the program we're trying to approach.
What gonna happen? They ain't got no sewage around.
Do what, sir?
They gonna modify them, they gonna do them a better septic tank if they ain't got.
We hadn't made it that far. We're trying to, this is to help develop the plan, to try to ask, taking a project to restore, to get the monies that's rightfully ours to help benefit our environment, our citizens, their health and welfare.
Well, a lot of them out there ain't got nothing to take them off, to take them to. I mean, they ain't got no way to send it. They ain't got no.
Oh, it's a big project.
Yeah.
It's a huge project.
Some of them they just gonna have to put on a better system.
That might be possible, yes, sir. Again, that's what they're gonna do when they try to help develop the plan.
Just like that island, they ain't got no wastewater treatment or nothing else over there.
And those aerobics are just, didn't work out the way everybody thought they would.
So I don't know what they're gonna do.
That's the motion.
No, we had motion.
Oh, we had a motion, okay.
Yes, we're in discussion.
Yes.
Any more discussion before we vote on this item? Again, this is a letter of support that's already been signed. We're just ratifying it. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right. Another letter of support closer to home. The city of Apalachicola is submitting repairs to Leslie Street as a congressionally directed community project for funding. As the letter was due to Representative Dunn's office yesterday, I asked Chairman Jones to sign the letter with the anticipation that the board would ratify his signature for this very, very important project. So they're submitting Leslie Street, repairs to Leslie Street as a congressional direct community project for funding.
So move. With a comment.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Bolt, please proceed.
This is a modern way today for 2 entities to bond together for the common good of the people. And I really like this example, and I'm glad we're supporting them.
So can I repeat my statement that the county and the city, we do get along, right, Commissioner Bolt?
We do.
There you go.
We could see that the other day when Governor DeSantis was there.
I wouldn't know, that's y'all governor.
Any more discussion before we vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
Moving right along, at your last meeting, the board discussed possible projects that were considered during a meeting with FDOT representatives. And by that, I mean, I know each of you had a chance to sit with FDOT. Of those projects, Commissioner Jones asked that at a traffic light on the corner of Highway 98 and Island Drive in East Point as a request to FDOT. Let me know if there are any other requests you would like sent to FDOT as possible projects. I just need the board to approve me sending that letter now, and then as you guys hit me with some stuff, we'll send them on.
Yeah, there's one thought, and I'm not sure if it competes with the city of Caribel. There needs to be some sort of a caution light right there at Tallahassee Street and US 98
Yeah,
in
that's the
Caribel.
city.
It's a walk away.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
that's the city.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interrupt.
Yeah, go
Commissioner
ahead.
Bolt, I spoke with the mayor.
Yes.
At his city. They do not wish to have that at this time. There's a lot of historical things going on within the city right now, and with the Historical Society and how they want that look to be down there. And so that was one of the items that I brought up, because I know we kind of shared between you and I.
We do.
And at this moment, to honor the city of Caribel's request, I redacted that from my request to FDOT.
Okay.
And furthermore, just Mr. Chairman, if I could add, I did speak with the FDOT reps, just like every one of us did, and recommended some things. So whatever I have, I can send you the list that I spoke with them about. I didn't know we had to write a letter to do that, but I can add my list of items to you and you could just put them all on
Yes,
the
ma'am.
same letter, I guess.
Okay, and we don't have to write a letter. I think we're just doing it to see how they'll, I like to send a, kind of like the whole
Yeah.
the crosswalk, how long it took us to get that approved, which we still haven't seen
Supposed to be happening this year,
the
from what I
first blinking
understand.
light yet, but we.
Really? Good.
Yes, 2020, well, it's supposed to be going on this year. I
Yeah.
got confirmation of that with, is it Carter?
Yeah, Carter.
One of-
Johnson.
one of
Johnson,
the
yeah.
guys, yeah.
Yep.
They said it's happening this year, so.
Yep, good, good.
We never did get a, Mr. Chairman,
No, go ahead.
we never did get a motion for this light request coming off the island there.
No, not
So
yet.
moved.
Okay.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and we have a second. Any more discussion before we vote?
Just one, Mr. Chairman, one quick comment, as I was coming down 98, somebody coming off Island Drive there, just pulls right out in front of you.
Oh,
I'm
yeah?
saying, can they not see or what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They just pull out, nothing blocking their view or anything. It's a very dangerous.
Yeah.
Now
And there's
that,
been several accidents there in the past year from people just pulling out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what's going on. You got people coming out of that station, you got people turning into Red Pirate, you got people turning and going to the island. You got all the traffic on 98, so there's a lot going on at that intersection, is what I'm trying to say. You got, so I believe light needs to be there.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not we get it, we only got one light in the whole county that changes colors. So I don't know that we'll get it, but it don't hurt to ask.
That's right.
this is in a direct response to when I met with them. Mr. Smith, that was sitting directly in front of me, said, "We've never received a letter from the county asking for a light." I said, "Don't worry, you'll be getting one."
Sure, you bet.
You know, this is in a direct response to what they communicated to me.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I want to put in a strong recommendation that we meet with the FDOT folks quarterly. That was a very, very productive meeting for me, and I think repetition will just gain more and more for the county, so I'd like to see us meet quarterly with them.
All right. Any more discussion on, before we vote on this motion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, we're ready, did the TDC vendor contract, so next is the retail pharmacy workshop. As the board is aware, over the last few months, the administration at Weems, they've been working on the possibility of a retail pharmacy over in Caribel. They are ready to present this proposal to you for discussion in a workshop setting on June 21st at 1:30 for your review and comments. Commissioner Bolt, I'm sure, is going to speak on this. He attends those meetings regularly. So I need action to authorize a workshop on July 21st at 1:30 p.m. to discuss the retail pharmacy in Caribel with Weems representatives.
So move
When's
with
the
comment.
date?
I'm sorry, June 21st.
Okay, I thought
That's-
you
I
said
think that's
July
your
just then.
I did.
Okay,
I'm
just
sorry, forgive me.
clarifying.
That's your second meeting
Yeah.
in June.
Okay,
And so move with comment.
okay. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt.
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Ward. Commissioner Bolt, please proceed.
This is the defining and pivotal moment for Franklin County. When you think of the fact that we have a pharmacy desert, essentially 60 miles or so between two pharmacies, two of them in Apalachicola, and nothing else until you get to Crawfordville, Florida. The initiation of this concept, I began to sponsor probably about 2 years ago, and it has been vetted and looked at very carefully by our Alliant Rural Healthcare Management folks. They've looked at the numbers, they've looked at the possibilities, we've looked at the site, and just to talk with the people in general, this is a tremendous benefit for Franklin County. And I think it's highly complimentary of our hospital and for our people as we go forward. I look forward to it.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm looking forward when they come in here and say we're gonna put some brick and mortar out there.
Amen too.
That's what I'm looking for. 20 years.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have a date and time set, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Another workshop for discussion. Commissioner Ward, at your last meeting, requested the board schedule a workshop to discuss beach parking issues on Alligator Point, St. George Island, keeping in mind that we have a workshop with the State Fire Marshal's Office scheduled for May 3rd. And Weems is requesting a scheduled meeting on June 21st. Workshop to discuss the Caribel Retail Pharmacy. The next available meeting dates for workshop for this parking issue, either May 3rd or June 7th. And then the board is considering a date Are there any specific items that should be added to the workshop agenda? And I say that because we could look at it, I should have done this yesterday, I'm sorry, it's busy. The June 15th, 2021 workshop we had in parking, send you guys that, and then you kind of create ideas off of, based on what we wanted then and where we are now, you know, because there were comments about TDC doing more infrastructure, but we've learned that TDC can't help us in that area for the most part. So, so I need a date, and I need you guys to think about some agenda items as we move towards that, get closer to that date for that agenda.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Yes.
may, June 21st is right in the middle of summer. I mean, I know we can't get, if we have it, I say have it May 3rd, basically, because I know we're not going to be able to get anything done, but June 21st, we're getting into the summer season, which I know it may present more issues at that time, but I personally feel like May 3rd would be a better date.
I'm sorry, May 17th? Oh, because May 3rd is the one with the fire marshal already. You already have a workshop at 1:30.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, on your, okay, I'm sorry,
I'm
May
sorry.
17th.
Yes, May
Stand
17th.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I support that.
Okay, so we're wanting to do it for May 17th at 1:30? Does that sound good?
That'd be
Yes,
good.
I try to
Okay.
keep that the normal workshop time for the
Okay.
board.
So Commissioner Ward, are you putting that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for May 17th at 1:30. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Great.
Okay, item I, a little long. Last week, the chairman, Alan Pierce, Aaron Griffith, and I met with Triumph to discuss projects that could be supported with Triumph funds designated for Franklin County. Matt Terry, who is on the Triumph board, represents this county. Ms. Susan Skelton, along with Corey Henderson and Rick Harper, their staff, represented Triumph at the meeting. It was stated early in the meeting that funding a new hospital, affordable housing, two of our greatest needs, would not meet the Triumph requirements. However, as the meeting progressed, and Aaron, you got to pay attention on this one, some great funding possibilities were discussed, and each of the Triumph representatives pledged their support and assistance to continue as we research and move forward with these projects. I'm paused there because I didn't do a good job of bridging into broadband. I did a terrible job at it. So there are projects that we're looking into. I would prefer not to be too specific right now because it involves contacting business owners in the county. And I kind of don't want to put the cart before the horse here. So if you guys would allow me that leeway, I guess, and at some point, as we get closer, I will discuss it with the board, probably one-on-one, and then we bring it to a public meeting. All right. Now, countywide broadband funding was one of the opportunities to discuss. And the reason being, it helps. Commissioner Lockley, I know what you're going to say about the highway, a 4-lane highway. Yeah, that's one of the things. But broadband is also a factor in helping bringing business to the county. That is very, very important. So I'm here skipping, but so there's a local technology planning team that we never appointed members to. We appointed the chairman and myself as the commission and staff designee, but we need to appoint this board. Triumph think it's very, very important that we do. Now I'm just going to summarize here for the rest of the meeting. So I think we could keep it simple. 5 members as we do other volunteer boards. I will send you different people in the community I think you guys should pick from, as we form the board. But I think we need to start something as soon as possible, sooner rather than later. Once you guys submit some candidates to me, then I'll bring that pool to the board and we could start that working with that group, and then in turn we could start working with Triumph also with that group. But broadband funding is very, very important. Commissioner Lockley, is almost important as getting a 4-lane highway, believe it or not.
I thought Senator Ardley had put that in the.
Well, yes, there's the statewide level funding, there is federal funding. Everybody talks like there's more funds bigger than this room for broadband funding. It's how do you tap into it is what the issue is. And this is the beginning of how you actually get to tap into that money, get that funding.
Yeah. So they basically designated through DEO,
yes,
state agency, that if you're going to try to apply for any of these grants, any of these funds, it has to be done through this process. They want local
That's the-
technology
yes.
planning teams is a phrase they come up with.
Yes, they're gonna, I guess, look for minutes and recommendations from that planning team to get it
Ain't
done.
that more of a school project? I mean, they got children all over the county and they.
No, sir. No, sir. I mean,
When
we're
they
trying
had
to
to,
talk,
when they had to use these, like they was out of school and do.
yes, during COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's just one
They
factor.
should have been pushing
Commissioner-
hard on that.
God, who was it that told me some study was done? In your county, there are more people working from home than you guys realize that are running businesses from their homes in this county that you guys realize. It shocked me, that number shocked. So, again, broadband is very, very important.
I know we need it. I ain't arguing about that.
No, I just, so this is one of the, I say quicker, easier steps that we can take to help ourselves coming up with a couple projects that Triumph will be able to fund for us.
Do you want us to pick out a candidate district specific, or can we look at the entire district?
Right now, Commissioner, I would just tell you guys, let's come up with 5 people.
5 people?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna restrict it. I'm just gonna say 5 nominees is what I'm looking for. I'm not gonna tell you, I mean, it's good to find somebody in your district.
Yep.
I mean, it shows that, you know, the confidence you have in people in your district, but,
Yep.
you know, five nominees will work for me. And Aaron, am I missing anything from that meeting? Since you were paying attention, so, yeah.
But you don't need the names today, in other words.
Oh, no,
You're gonna
no,
bring
sir.
it back to us at a future meeting.
Yes, but I really want you guys to start thinking about that.
So can this be done through us just directing you, sir, or does it need to be a motion and a vote?
No, again, I was kind of stated my piece. I don't really need a motion on this.
Okay.
I said that in case you guys had specific direction for me, but apparently you're gonna wanna think about it and look at some names. So that works for me.
Mr. Chairman, now you're saying each one of us commissioners get somebody from our district to sit on this board?
Mm-hmm. Well, it don't have to be from your district. It's up to you. I'm just looking for.
Okay, but if you don't, then you may have, your district may not be represented. So how you saying don't have to be from your district?
Yeah.
If you're the commissioner of that district and you want your district represented, then each commissioner should select a name or 5 names or what from his district, so that each district has a representative.
Okay.
I think if you'll
You
look,
understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I wanted to clarify
It's the
that.
spirit of all that.
I think if you'll
You
look
don't,
at,
you don't need a commissioner from District 5 getting somebody out of District
Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
Because then District 5 could potentially not have a representative.
I think I know what the chairman is gonna say, and the reason I didn't restrict it, when I send you their recommended makeup of the board, they have like somebody from, like a pastor, believe it or not, you know? They have somebody from the school district, so they want you to get like this cross-section of people in your county. So that's, Mr. Chairman, that you stop me when I'm
No,
not,
that's it.
yeah. But that's why I wasn't harping so much in being a district nominee, because there might be somebody you know that's great, but doesn't happen to live in your district, that would do really good, you know? But, I mean, okay, Commissioner, let's take like Kevin Ward. You know, he has his own business, and I think he lives in your district.
He does.
He'd be perfect for the board.
And he'll be my,
Yeah.
after I speak with him,
Yes.
that'll probably be who I put him in.
Yes, so.
But then my district will have a representative.
Yes, but it's one of those things, I'm not sure if it's more important district-wide or the field that they're in, you know, to have, but any which way, it's up to the board. You guys decide, you know, let me know.
Mr. Chairman, Michael, you're gonna post this on the county's website as well, so people can reach out. And I know, and I agree with Commissioner Parrish, I do think that each district needs their own representation, but I think I personally had issues with a representative from my district on one of the P&Z and BOA boards. So it may be, and it may not be that we don't want representation, it's just we may not be able to have a volunteer, because these are volunteer boards that may decide that there's too much time involved with it and they're not interested, but I appreciate you putting it on the website, that way people can know. Because I do remember we met with Senator Osley on this, and that was part of the board, as you said, that's specific on what members they want, like a myriad of different job descriptions and expertise, things of that nature, so.
Now, what I put on the website, do you want me to have people contact you guys specifically, put your contact information?
Me personally, you can have them contact me
Okay.
directly, yes, and I can talk to them about it. Because the first thing they're gonna ask is, well, what is it gonna entail? If I'm on this board.
No
or-
idea.
You know what I mean? But
Because haven't started doing
didn't
nothing
she
yet.
give us a paper, I wanna say, I don't know, I may have been at the Small County Coalition thing
Yes.
too, where we got
Everybody's
something where
talking
this
about broadband.
criteria, yeah. But I do remember this LTPT board being brought up at one of
Yes.
the meetings that we were at recently.
Yeah.
I'll have to go through my paperwork and find it, but.
And I'll send it to you guys again.
And it tell computer skills, no?
It doesn't, Commissioner, no, not every one of what they're recommending actually has to be somebody in the IT field. No, sir. Not the
don't?
computer skill. No, again, they want different people to have an input of what is needed, They don't want me on there because I have a gripe with my provider, but that's a personal matter. We will discuss that here. But yeah,
Whoa. But tell them, but they gonna have to explain to me, I'm illiterate when it comes down to this kind of stuff. So I can know who to look for.
Yeah.
And who to talk to.
At the end of the day, Commissioner, this team is going to be put together specifically to try to pursue any and every opportunity to secure funds that would help the county map out what's needed, find out how we can partner with someone to put in infrastructure where it's appropriate, so we can, move forward and have better service in the county.
Well,
Yeah, that was what I'm talking about.
Well, Commissioner Lockie, for instance, like you were just talking about, for the school kids. So you might want to put somebody from the school as your representative from your district, because then they could say, here's what the kids need, So you see, it doesn't necessarily have to be the IT person, but someone from a particular field would serve well, giving their input and why they think how important broadband is in their particular district,
Well,
neighborhood.
I know them students need it. I know the people offshore need it. I know the people up 65 need it. All three of them, But I'm trying to figure out.
I'll send you. We'll talk about it some more, sir.
You get a dead zone in a lot of them places, especially up 65. It's dead.
Yeah.
You get a dead zone.
Well, we approved someone having a tower put up 65 on their property 3 or 4 years ago. They just, for some
They ain't
reason,
done
it's
it.
never been done.
Yeah.
And we sent letters out, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Don't worry.
We approved
I'm
that.
about to see if I can find new people
But
to
it-
connect, because again, I have an issue with somebody, so this has inspired me to kind of reach out
I
again.
don't mind making
But
phone
you got
calls. I'll be the
students-
squeaky wheel.
You got them students, they almost to psychiatry. You got them students. I don't know how far they go back that way.
Yeah. So that'd be a good way for you to put somebody that, is familiar with that. But okay, so we work on that and we'll pick this up future.
Sounds good.
Where are we at, Jay?
Yes.
Okay, and mostly informational items now, but they're kind of important. So as the board is probably aware, read in the paper, the school district has been discussing adding a half-mil sales tax question on the November 2022 ballot. The Board of County Commissioners would have to approve a resolution to have the question added to that ballot. Therefore, the superintendent will be at your May 3rd agenda requesting approval of the resolution. The superintendent has asked if you would like to speak to him about this. Let me know. I will give him your number and he will call you in case you have any questions about what this half-mil is for and about. That's an information item. Just let me know. I'll set up a call conference for you. Okay, here's a fun one. House Bill 53. I quote, it states, by June 30th, 2022, and every 5 years thereafter, requires each county, city or special district, providing wastewater, stormwater services to develop a needs analysis for its jurisdiction over the subsequent 20 years. The analysis must be completed and submitted to the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, EDR for short, which must evaluate and compile the documents for the purpose of developing a statewide analysis for inclusion in an annual assessment due January 1, 2023. The bill provides that the analysis requirement applies to rural area of opportunity as defined in the Florida statute unless such requirement would create an undue economic hardship for the county, city, or special district in that rural area of opportunity. Now, Franklin County is designated as a rural area of opportunity. However, the procedure or process to seek a waiver, as it would create an undue economic hardship for the county, seems to be very, very elusive, and I'm thinking that I can get a testimony from the chairman and maybe some from Attorney Schuler that they have tried to find that for me also. I've tried myself. Based on today's discussion, my plan is to contact Mr. Michael Bateman of EDR to discuss this possible waiver. I haven't contacted him yet because I wanted to hear input from the board as I speak to him. In case we're not able to obtain a waiver, Florida Association of Counties recommended Jones Edmonds to assist the county with completing the report as they are working with other counties, including Walton County. I've met with Jones Edmonds representatives and requested a scope of services to complete Franklin County's report. I'll be sitting with you at some time soon to discuss that scope. Whatever the outcome, there'll be action on your May 3rd report. I hate to box myself in, but I don't have a choice here relating to House Bill 53, required reporting. I've included some documentation that explains the information required in the report. So, if I can't get a waiver from this state agency, we've got to do this, and we need help to get it done. It's just that simple, Commissioners, and it's.
How much are they gonna cost?
I could see the cost being somewhere upwards of $35,000 to $40,000 to get this done.
Whoa.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
where do we fit in, Mike? We don't provide wastewater services. Stormwater, is that considered ditches?
Yes. So
that's where we fit in.
Here's the thing.
I'll tell you where else you fit in. The cities and the special districts have to submit their stuff to us and we submit on their behalf.
That's what I was going to tell you. We are responsible, and I'm going to use
all
the
of
term that the gentleman from Edmonds said to me. We are responsible for, and he said this, copying and pasting information from the cities and your special water districts onto our report. It has to go in the right place.
Well,
Even though I hear Mr. Commissioner Parrish that we don't have wastewater plants, we're still responsible for everything in our district to add that to our report.
well, if them other districts mess up, is we responsible for paying for these?
Hopefully not. Hopefully that's why we copy and pasting, Commissioner. We're taking what they said, their study, and I hope everybody else does their study, because if not, do we put NA in that slot? Or do we have to do due diligence to force as much as we can, the cities and the districts to do their part? I don't know yet. Me, I'm hoping for the waiver, I'll be
Yeah.
honest with y'all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just wish there was a way somewhere online that they tell you, okay, this is how you apply for the waiver. This'll, you know.
They dealing with the Florida Association of County, why they won't get together with all the counties and ask for all these small counties to get away?
I asked the chairman to contact the executive director and I'll let him tell you what
So
they
this
said.
is what they said at the Association of Counties. First off, they recommend that every county turn in something, regardless of whether we deem it significant or not. Because the issue is, this is a law or a bill that was passed by the state legislature. And there might be a process for a waiver, but it's very vague and hard to track. And they said at this point, they think that something would be better than nothing, because they don't want to put any county, whether it be urban or rural, in a situation where the state could, because anything is possible, tell them, you know what, we need to pause our DOT 5-year work plan or any other thing that the state does on behalf of the counties because of our failure to do the requirements that have been passed by the legislature.
Which one of them to read it?
Ginger Delagon?
Oh, yeah, that's a lawyer.
Yes, sir.
She's executive director too,
Yeah,
sir.
the executive
Yeah.
director. Yes, sir.
That's what worried me, Commissioner Lockley.
Yes.
When I heard that feedback, I'm like, come on.
Micah knows, put Mike on.
We're activating the lawyer clause, sir.
I had Attorney Schuler doing his bit too.
Yeah.
He's been working for me. Yeah. Yeah, he's tried his best to go through the lawyer forum, contact other county lawyers. Yeah, to see what we could do. I mean, I kind of liked his idea. Can I say it?
What? Go ahead.
No, okay, I won't. But it's after we kind of vetted that's not going to work either. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just something we need to try to do. So I guess you'll be bringing it back to us on May 3rd?
Yes, if I'm successful with the waiver, I'll come back. If I'm not successful, I'll come and tell you guys, because I cannot commit the county to any money unless the board says so.
Okay.
Yes.
Bottom line, we're gonna have to do
Mr.
this.
Chairman, but the legislature can. They can mandate you do things and don't provide no money. That's what we call an unfunded mandate.
That's your favorite term, sir, yes.
Is that?
You know, taxpayers gotta pay for it.
Yes.
And we don't have no choice. So where does the government get their money? Out of the taxpayer's pocket.
Basically what it is.
Another unfunded mandate.
Yes, sir.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, sir?
Couple more quick items. I just wanted to officially, I did hear officially from the St. George Island Volunteer Fire Department that Mr. Kevin Delahanty, I'm sorry, how do I pronounce his name? Did resign and was accepted by that board. He was a former fire chief over there in St. George Island. And as a reminder, Commissioner Bolt, the board has scheduled a workshop at the State Fire Marshal's office on Tuesday, May 3rd at 1:30 p.m. right in this meeting room. This workshop will be streamed on Zoom, but not on Forgotten Coast TV. The board encourages public attendance, especially, and this is something Commissioner Bolt has been asking me to please, especially representatives from each volunteer fire department. If they can't show up, they can just log into Zoom and watch, and when there are comments and questions and answers, we welcome them to be part of it there.
I wanted to make a comment. I want all of our volunteer fire departments to know that this is a complimentary workshop. This is continuing education. This is resources and ideas. And I think it'll be an excellent opportunity, probably the first time that this county's ever had such a presentation such as that. And I'm glad we can do that.
All right,
And
sir?
that sums it up, and please, I want to be as good as Aaron, no question.
All right. Attorney Schuler, we're on to you, sir.
Clarification, this probably is not a question necessarily for the board, but either myself, Mike, and Aaron, who is, or I guess Mr. Or the Dewberry representative, who was writing the letter to FDOT about the request right-of-way on St. George Island for the stormwater management plan? We discussed it and approved it, but I don't know who's responsible for at least the initial drafting.
I will draft and send to you.
Oh, perfect, thank you so much. First action item, I sent an email or a couple of emails out to the board members last week, and in no particular order, my first action item I come to is for the board consideration of the purchase and sale agreement between the Alligator Point Volunteer Fire Department and Franklin County, Florida. The purchase and sale contract, I received that signed back from the seller after our last meeting. The essential terms are on the last page of the document. It would have a range of the purchase price, which essentially was negotiated by Mr. Pierce some time ago, somewhere between $350,000 to $400,000 is determined by the appraised value of the property. Franklin County would be responsible for the selection and payment of the appraiser. And if more than 2 appraisals are required, then the parties agree that the purchase price will be the average of the 2 appraisals, not to exceed $400,000 and not be average less than $350,000. If the appraised value of the property is provided in herein is less than $350,000, then the seller may elect to cancel the contract without cost or liability. And if the appraised value of the property is greater than $400,000, then the county may elect to cancel the contract. It doesn't require, but basically this contract is set up for grant funding within this agreed upon price range. And if for some reason we're either above or below that range, then what I'm envisioning is everybody comes back together and sees if they can come to a modified agreement. But both parties, in case the range is either above or below, could terminate the purchase and sale contract. At closing, all the costs, including the appraisals fees, which will be advanced by the purchaser, the county, all those closing costs will be equally divided between the seller and the purchaser and paid at closing. And the further condition of closing is that Franklin County's obligation to purchase and close the real property is that 100% of the purchase price shall be grant funded. If the purchase price is not 100% grant funded, then Franklin County may elect to cancel the contract without cost or liability to the seller. Franklin County shall not use ad valorem tax revenues to purchase the real property. So two conditions, basically two outs for the county: the price range and the requirement for grant funding. And then this contract is going to be good for a 6-month period. There's some other boilerplate lawyer stuff in here that really the board, probably even the public, doesn't care about. But what I just read to the board would be the fact there's 12 pages of boilerplate that I'm not going through. But the essential terms of the proposed purchase price is what I have laid out for the board. Aaron, I know, has found a potential grant funding source, and all of this is required because it turned out after a very long haul down a very long road with FEMA, we couldn't use their funds for the purposes intended. So Ms. Aaron, if you want to add anything about the grant funding, it's not necessary, but there is another grant source of grant funding available.
We have requested actually funds from Department of Economic Opportunity for a Hurricane Michael grant, and then also the American Rescue Plan funds. So we do have funding sources identified.
Good. Just one question. So we are understanding that 6 months will be plenty of time to execute that?
Yes.
Okay. That was my only question.
The time frame that I put into the contract was after talking to Erin and what she was frankly is expecting a pretty quick turnaround with a yes or a no.
Okay.
Good.
Probably the biggest delay is going to be finding appraisers. Finding appraisers to appraise real estate in this day and time has been challenging.
I know that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board?
I would like to propose so move this motion.
Okay. Motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ward. Any discussion before we vote?
I'm just real pleased to see how this is going. It's good quality wording. I like what we're doing.
Seeing no other discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
All right, Mr. Chairman, just whenever you sign this, you'll have to initial each page and then sign the second page from the back with a wet signature.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for that.
And we've already done the golf course ordinance. I have put in the request for a potential board action, a request that the board authorized me to hire an outside planner to provide some planning services regarding a possible update to the RV ordinance. And I guess my question to the board, I know you're in the middle of the process of considering and potentially adopting code enforcement. So does the board have a preference whether I go ahead and proceed on now with the request for some outside planning services, or wait and defer that request until the board makes a decision on code enforcement?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to defer. Obviously, an ordinance is, as I've said before, is only as good as it's enforced. So I think that it would be prudent for us to just wait and defer this until we have our code enforcement workshop, which is, or our code enforcement hearing, I'm sorry,
Yep.
which
Yes,
is in a meeting upcoming. So I make a motion to defer this.
And I concur.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Ward, and is that a second, sir?
Second, yes, sir.
We have a second by Commissioner Bolt. Any discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And just for the board's information, the code enforcement ordinance is scheduled for a public hearing at your first meeting in May, which I believe is May the 3rd.
Okay.
And the last issue, at the last board meeting, the question came up whether or not to pause the MSBU funding to the Lanark St. James Volunteer Fire Department. The board at the last meeting had considered, whether or not that needed to be done by ordinance, and that basically was the question that I had, because I had not looked at the 2013-1 county ordinance, which established the MSBU for all of the 7 fire districts. Since your last meeting, I have read that ordinance, and although there is a requirement in your MSBU ordinance that the MSBU funds from each district be placed into a trust fund, which essentially is a line item maintained by the clerk's office and their finance department, and the further requirement that all of the MSBU funds for each district can only be used for municipal fire protection and emergency services within each district. In other words, you can't cross-pollinate the funding from one District 1 to District 7. I don't find that there's any obligation on the part of the board to provide the quarterly funding to Lanark in the ordinance. The only requirement is that the funds raised in Lanark be spent in Lanark for the fire and rescue services. So if the board wanted to proceed with pausing the payment of the MSBU funds to Lanark, you could do that by motion of the board. It doesn't require any ordinance as far as the way I'm reading your 2013-1 ordinance, which created the 7 different MSBU districts. So how does the board want to proceed on that issue?
I so move on that suggestion.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve pausing.
Pausing the funds
Okay. We have a
with
motion to
Lanark
approve
Village.
pausing.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Any discussion? My only question would be, Attorney Schuler, and I know there's a motion on the floor, and I'm not the commissioner of that district, so I'm not trying to supersede that representative in any way. Currently, all of our volunteer fire departments in the county back each other up. They've done that for the longest amount of time. I realize we've asked a little bit more of the Caribel and Alligator Point fire departments at this current time. My only issue is, you know, I understand pausing it, and I don't know that there's any amount of money that should go to the other departments because we've already had a habit of backing each other up. I just want to make sure the public knows that we're definitely looking at every angle of this situation, trying to make it work the best. That's all I'm bringing up. You know, it's a tenable situation.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I have some comments and suggestions for the board to consider now that there's a motion and a second. For example, there may be costs incurred by Lanark St. James. I understand that they have something I've heard ranging from $100,000 to $124,000 in a bank account, and the board may want to consider, given what we heard at the podium today, that they have trained volunteers that are unwilling to provide fire services. The board may want to consider requesting that district to return those funds to you as the governing board. That's one issue. The other issue is that as Lanark is going to potentially provide services and potentially incur costs, approve a procedure whereby Mr. Morone as the county coordinator and Ms. Griffith as your fiscal manager. I'm sorry, Mike, I had a chance to talk to Aaron before the meeting, not you.
Right.
That as y'all have done, say for the airport, you give them limited authority to receive and process pay requests in between meetings. For example, I heard some comment that Mrs. Putnam intends to seek fire emergency rescue training, and there's an expense for that. Well, then she would have the ability, if the board were to delegate some limited authority to Mr. Morone and Ms. Griffith, to receive that pay request and pay that request out of the MSBU funds, because that's what it's there for. But I know the board has expressed concern about just providing the funds, but I think there also needs to be some consideration. There would be some expenses incurred that should be validly paid out of the MSBU funds. This is a mechanism which would allow the board to do that.
So is that something that would be a separate motion potentially you're talking about, or just refining the motions on the table?
I think taking them separately, I think they're significantly, or they are separate and distinct issues. So the first motion and second would to pause the payment to Lanark St. James, and retain those MSBU funds for a short period of time would be one motion, and then perhaps another motion to authorize Mr. Morone and Ms. Griffith to receive and process pay requests, which frankly would also include Caribel. Caribel, I'll keep checking my phone to see if I've got that interlocal agreement from Caribel, and I don't have it yet, but I do know from talking with Mr. Hartman there's going to be a request for basically an equipment charge and a personnel charge for responding over in the Lanark St. James area, so that they would then be able to legitimately use the MSBU funds from Lanark St. James to pay that money to the city of Caribel. So all of those would be 3 different separate motions.
Can I ask a question? I mean, I think now, yeah, you said Caribel, they gonna have to get paid extra too. Lanark.
Yeah.
And people trip.
Yeah.
I don't know, but when they, can we go, like we got MSUB, we got the money, that's from us, that's from the county. Now, we can't mess with can we mess with the other money, what they raise private?
No, not their volunteer, they're like charitable donations that are made to them are not our funds.
Right.
That would be their funds. All we're talking about right now are the MSBU funds.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Schuler?
How are we gonna know that this, just from what you give?
Well,
From what?
in a perfect world, people that receive donations provide receipts for the donations that are received. I believe in excess of $50. I mean, I'm not a finance person. I mean, maybe Aaron can weigh in on what the threshold is, maybe not, but that would be on them. I believe if they're going to claim that it's not an MSBU fund, then I think the burden of proof properly should be on them to say that it was a charitable donation and prove it.
Okay, so do we have any more discussion on this motion before we vote?
Please.
Is it on this motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
It's relative to this motion deferring the dispensing of the MSBU funds on a quarterly basis. I'm also seeing that there's a depository of historical MSBU funds that is in a bank account. How do we have any influence on that money as well?
That's past this
That's
motion.
a secondary to this
That
motion.
would be the third motion that I.
That's the third motion, okay.
That's past this
All right,
motion.
let's track it then.
Okay, any more discussion on this motion before we vote? And this motion was to freeze the MSBU funds. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
Thank
The effect of that is that the MSBU funds for Lanark St. James would be kept in the clerk's trust account for that district. The second motion that I would recommend is authorizing Mr. Morone and Ms. Griffith to receive and process pay requests at some cap determined by the board that they may receive from Lanark and also from the city of Caribel.
Okay.
So move.
All right, motion to approve by Commissioner Bolt,
I'll second with comment.
second by Commissioner Ward. Please proceed, Commissioner.
You said a cap, Attorney Schuler, a cap of funds, like a total, like say, like we do with our bid policy, 25,000 or X amount of money?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what did y'all do for the airport, Mike? It was like $1,500 y'all received in process?
God, I think it's 15, and then after that, I have to bring it to the board. Yes.
Was it-
Yeah, and we would actually like to do it too, where it would be much like our regular payment cycle, whereas, someone would actually bring us the request, we
Yes.
would approve it, make sure that it was, valid for the expenditure to occur out of MSBU funds, and then we would submit it to the clerk's finance office for them to cut a check at a regular board meeting. So that's
Yeah.
something that we would actually report to you all each and every single meeting, should we have any expenditures come in.
So be part of your bill list, basically. Yes, and we'll point them out to you.
And that's why I was wanting to make a point so I don't have to repeat a motion. So I'm gonna make a motion to have the funding capped at $1,500
Yeah.
per whatever quarter the withdrawal should be,
Mhm.
whatever month that is, what would it be?
It's actually going to occur at the second meeting after the end of the quarter. So this would be this distribution that would have occurred actually today would have been for the quarter ending March 31st.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just make sure.
So you want to amend your motion? Yours was the second, correct? Isn't that correct, Ms. Gay? Commissioner Bolt made the motion?
Yes, you have to amend your motion.
And I'll
Commissioner
amend my
Bolt.
motion.
Yes.
That's what I'm asking.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
No, you're good. So you're amending your motion and you're amending your second?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not coming back,
Yes, ma'am.
reinventing the wheel.
Yes,
You know
ma'am.
what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
And I
We're
want to
not.
make sure we have a numerical number
Mm-hmm.
so that we all know how much they're having to come to get or what the limit is. So
Yes.
I'm in my second, yes.
Yes, ma'am. I think we're all good with those
Yeah,
amendments,
right.
I promise you.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure we're doing it properly.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
It don't matter.
Why not?
I mean, it don't matter what we do. Now, since we done this, we gonna be the nasty, the nasty people in the deal. The county commissioner cut off our MSU. Get ready for that. You gonna hear it. I'm gonna be laughing.
This isn't
But it's
cutting them off,
coming out.
this is just,
No.
I know.
pausing.
I know,
Yeah.
but that's gonna be that's how the people gonna put it out. Get ready for it.
Okay, any more discussion before we vote on this motion?
I do.
Okay,
I don't want to clarify, if there's a pay request that comes back to the board and goes through the usual process that the script has laid out, I don't think there needs to be any prior authorization given to staff to receive and process it in due course. What I was suggesting is that if there's a eventuality that comes up where a manual check has to be cut between meetings before the board receives a pay request from either Caribel or Lanark, that there's some ability to meet that need so they can have their financial needs met. That's what I was trying to accomplish, and apparently did a very poor job of explaining.
so can I ask a question? Why would they need a check cut before a regular scheduled board meeting?
I'm just planning for eventualities that I can't forecast. I mean, something could come up. I don't necessarily think that it would, but it might. I mean, it's happened at the airport before, so I figure it might happen.
Gives us
Lanark.
flexibility.
But if the board doesn't want to do that, then just process the pay
So-
request in the ordinary course.
When it comes to manual checks, it's my procedure. I basically, like call each of you and say, hey, this is an emergency. We need to get this check cut, manual check. And I make sure I talk to everyone, if everybody's in agreement at that point, and then turn to the clerk. And I said, clerk, okay, I've talked to each commissioner. They're good. We'll ratify it at the next regular meeting. Now, that's a procedure I usually use. Do we want to change from that, or everybody's comfortable with that?
Comfortable with that.
Okay, and my next question is, I kind of misunderstood the whole thing about what is a quarter, I'm sorry, so can we accept and process payments every meeting like we do normally, or do we have to wait for the end of the quarter? I was a little confused on that end.
We should be able to process like during the quarter. I'm thinking that was more of the situation that Schuler had talked
Right.
about as far as it being an emergency
Yes.
distribution.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Commissioner, now I got it.
Okay.
Okay, cool, we're good.
Does that clarify?
We're good now?
Like I've heard people say before, to me, is that clear as mud? All right, any more discussion before we vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That's unanimous.
And this is the second of three motions. We're
Yes.
gonna have one more, correct? Attorney
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Well, I was asking if the board wanted, under these circumstances, to either request Lanark return those parked MSBU funds back to you as the governing board, or leave them parked there in the meantime. I mean, that's just an item I want to bring up for board discussion and consideration.
But as they're a nonprofit, we don't really know what kind of funds they have without them telling us, correct?
We don't know what necessarily they have gained or received as a charitable donation without going through a process, evidentiary process essentially, to determine what is an MSBU fund and what's not. I mean, the simplest thing is to leave it parked there. We can always have it monitored by the court in hindsight if we need to.
Mr. Chairman,
I think I'm better with that issue. Yes.
I'm in favor of us gaining control of that particular bank account of funds, just from the standpoint of quality assurance. I think this is a responsible way to move forward for the people's money.
But since they're nonprofit, Attorney Schuler, would we have to go to court to take over that bank account?
Well, you notice how I phrased it?
I know.
Ask them to return it.
No, that's not what Commissioner Bolt is asking for. He's asking
And
something different.
if the board makes the decision, then you would have to go to court if they don't do it voluntarily.
Okay, we can back that up as a motion.
And your motion is to basically take them to court to get the money?
After we ask them to return it and they refuse, then we,
Well, how do you know they're gonna refuse, Commissioner?
well, I don't know. Look at the history. Look where we are. Dysfunction, dysfunction. So stand by.
Okay. So please clarify your motion and we'll go forward.
I would make the motion that we ask the current Lanark Village Fire Department Board to return the monies that are in their current bank account And secondarily, if they refuse in an untimely manner, they're given a deadline to return the monies, and if they miss the deadline, then we proceed for court order. That's my motion.
So we have a motion on the floor by Commissioner Bolt.
How far back?
I didn't make the motion.
Look at the balance.
Huh?
All the way.
Yeah.
Hey, how we know what to get?
You don't?
We do have their records as of January, but they have not had a February, a March, or an April board meeting. But we have the records from January, and it's 100,000 and some change in their balance right now,
I mean,
somewhere like that.
are we heading close to another accounting review like what was done to them in the past to figure this out? Or to Mr. Robertson?
Well, them people said they ain't done that.
So let me refresh the board's memory. Remember, one of the things that was the auditor's issues with them, they kept everything in one account and did not separate the two. So we're going to have to figure out a way to determine, and are we going to go back to our CPA again, our auditor, or how are we going to determine what is?
We don't know either if it ain't been separated.
I mean,
The issue right now is control. And then we can look at that
well, see,
question
that's
later.
two different things. We're talking about asking them to return the money, and you're
Yes.
talking about controlling the account. And that's why I was trying to point out to Attorney Schuler. That is two separate things. I don't know if we could control somebody's personal account.
No, but
I mean,
when they return the money, we have control over it.
Oh, okay.
He included both in his motion.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you a question. It did look like we taking sides,
We're taking sides
huh?
for the people.
Can I not
and
answer?
Safety.
It did look like we taking sides. I mean, I don't know. I wanna see this stuff over with. 'Cause
Yeah, sure. It's painful.
We all do, and if we could say we wanted it over, we'd be over today, that'd be fine, but it ain't happening.
I tell you how to get it over with. And they gonna be mad, but we go in there and pay for a fire department and charge the whole people. And then they'll have a meeting then.
They can't afford that, sir. I hate
They'll
to.
have a meeting then.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
What the motion for?
And
Commissioner Bolt made a motion, correct me if I'm wrong, to ask the Lanark Volunteer Fire Department Board that's in place now to turn over the monies that are in their current account. And if they do not produce those monies, then the county is agreeing to take them to court over those funds.
And they produce those monies by day certain, so we have an automatic rollover going to the court.
That sounds good, but what's your date certain?
Oh, how about May 3rd?
Are we asking for all the money in their account, or
Yes,
just
absolutely.
what MSBU funds?
Just the
that we-
MSBU funds.
Just the
Yes,
MSBU funds?
we don't know if it's mixed, so you're right, MSBU funds. We may end up giving them some of their charity money back, but MSBU funds is what we need to determine
And again,
and dissect that out.
Who over that money?
See, so once we cut them a check, and let's speak in general to all the fire departments.
I know.
We send each fire department a check, and then that not-for-profit, or whatever status they are, they control the money then, because they put it in their account,
know,
and then they pay their bills, and they buy trucks and equipment, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how that works, but, and I hate to keep asking the same question. So I hear what you guys are saying about returning the funds. How far back do we go and saying, well, do we want a year's worth of MSBU funds? 6 months, 2 years?
I think the funds.
I'm saying the entire bank account balance right now.
Yeah, he's talking about the balance.
Whatever accumulated, it's in there now, and I'd like to have all that money.
Oh, so you want the entire balance?
The entire balance of the bank account.
Of the MSBU funds.
MSBU funds, which we don't know yet. So we may have to do some dissecting.
But here's the thing, though.
See?
If I may, here's the thing. So if you don't know how much is there, and there's been some discussion publicly about us as a commission having our auditors look at that again for the amount of money, then we're making a motion here to give them a May 3rd date we're putting ourselves in the middle of a really bad situation and making it worse. That's my only drawback. I understand the spirit of what you're saying, Commissioner. Not against that. But, you know, the people have a reasonable right for us to conduct our business properly and in order. And that is not happening in the discussion we're having here.
Shall we extend the deadline till May 19th then and do it?
Well, even if we do extend it, Commissioner, are we as a board going to have our auditing firm look at that amount of monies again? If we are, they're going to give us a timeline they can get that work done that we're not, can't answer today. I mean,
just
that's
antsy about where, you know what
I mean?
I just worry about the control of the money.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't think any of us are
I'm on the record for
opposed to that whatsoever.
Okay.
But, you know, we can't answer how much is there.
Let's proceed with the amendment to my motion then, that we ask the board to return MSBU monies by May 3rd.
Okay.
If they do not, we engage the auditing firm to determine MSBU monies versus charity monies that should be returned to us. And pending the auditor's time frame to do this. That would be my motion.
Okay.
I know it's complex.
Okay, so the motion's been amended.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
What's gonna happen if they don't get it? They don't go to 5. What make you think they gonna give you some money?
That's what's in the motion.
I don't think they're going to do. It's going to be dead silence.
So, I'm sorry, the date was by May 19th, Commissioner Bolt?
Yes, by
That's
May 19th.
May
Give them a
19th.
little more time.
Okay.
That was 3rd.
Oh, May the 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so you did not extend it, Commissioner? Yeah.
That's what I originally said, but I want to be sure that they have enough. Perhaps that's too much pressure, but a fire doesn't wait for time either. So
We meet on May 3rd, and then it'll be May 17th.
All right.
So do you want to make the deadline May 17th,
May
which
7th.
will be our second county commission meeting in May?
All right.
That works for you, sir?
Let's do that.
So
Yes.
you're
sir.
amending it to May 17th?
Okay.
Okay. And if at that time we don't hear from them, we'll discuss this again and determine what direction we go in? Is that the motion?
Yes, that's the motion.
If we
At
seize
least-
all this money, how they gonna pay the water bill and light bill and stuff like that?
Okay, so.
That's what they're doing, correct?
Yeah.
That's what we motioned for them to
Yeah,
do.
they'll do that.
Yeah. Now,
With our
you
last
said
motion.
seizing the money, I mean, okay, so here's what I'm understanding. Basically, I'm gonna send a letter to that board at their mailing address and say the county commission is requesting that you return all MSBU funds in your bank account. And we would like this returned to us prior to May 17th. And on May 17th, when we meet, I'm going to say, Commissioners, I received no response, or I received a check from the board, and then we decide where we go from there.
Okay.
You guys, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that's what I'm hearing, and Madam Clerk, is that what you're hearing too? I want to make sure you and I are on the same
Okay.
page here, you know?
If they got a credit account?
A credit card account? I don't.
I think they've been abolished. Those are debit cards.
The reason I asked, cause what happened if they need some gas?
Well, that's where you had a motion a little while ago where you just allowed Aaron and
I
myself
know.
to pay for any charges that they may have. So I guess if they have a credit card and they use it, it's submitted to us.
But if they ain't got no credit card, Pune need some gas and the people say they want their money when they get it.
Yeah, so they'd have no charge account is what you're saying to get gas.
But they're not currently responding
To fire, so I mean, I hear what the chairman was saying too, and I hear what you said, Commissioner Lockley, that it comes across now like we're taking sides now, which is something we didn't want to do, but here we are, as the chairman has said, you know, and you know, Commissioner Parrish, you said seize. I don't think we have the authority to seize. I'm just gonna send them a letter asking, say the board has asked, and we see where we go from there. That's the best I can do.
But let's do something, cause I'm home.
So we do have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Is there a second to Commissioner Bolt's motion? Motion dies for lack of a second.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing further for the board.
Okay.
Mr.
Anyone
Chairman.
have any questions or concerns for Attorney Schuler?
I have another idea for Attorney Schuler. You just heard all this discussion with regard to MSBU funds and how we have this cancer right there in the issues of the fire department of Lanark Village. I would like us to consider developing a contract for the management of the MSBU funds for all of our volunteer fire departments in Franklin County. It's a guide, a direction only, not a penalty. It's accountability of the people's money. And I think that we should seriously consider having formal contracts with each fire department relative to MSBU monies for the very reason of the hours we have spent talking about this subject at Lanark Village. That has triggered my idea. So I would like to make that as a motion, if it's appropriate, to ask our attorney to look into contractual arrangements with all fire departments relative to MSBU fund criteria, management, and spending. And we get a quarterly report.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, I got a quick question. Attorney Schuler, maybe you can help me out with this. Isn't that controlled by Florida statute and what the Florida statute states about MSBU funding?
Well, we've heard the specific answer to your question is I'm not familiar with any statute that says that. There may be and there may not be a requirement for a contract. I know we've heard from the State Fire Marshal's office some.
Well, I was talking about specifically, not interrupt, how the money's spent. Like a contract, it's still controlled by Florida statute as to how the money's spent.
No, the county ordinance 2013-1 specifies that the only proper use of those funds are for emergency rescue and fire services. And of course, that would include things related to it, like the gas for the trucks and things of that nature that Commissioner Lockley was referring to. But beyond those services and the things that are necessary to render those services, no other expenditure is allowed. And that is governed by your local ordinance.
That's what I'm saying. So for clarification, a contract basically is just saying how they're going to spend it, which is controlled by what Florida statute says on what they can and how they can spend it.
Effectively through the local ordinance, yes, Commissioner.
And I'm just speaking about specific accountability, actuarial type numbers that we can see that's being properly spent, and not have to go through this again in the future. So I would like to make the motion that our attorney look into those opportunities and give us a report on that particular type.
So the motion is to, Attorney Schuler, ask you to look into that possibility, as I understand
the
it.
motion, yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion by Commissioner Bolt. Do we have a second? Do we have a second to the motion that's on the floor? The motion dies for lack of a second. Anyone else have anything for Attorney Schuler before we proceed? All right, we're up to the point of the meeting of commissioner comments. Any commissioners have any comment or anything they want to say?
I have one.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I've been thinking about trying to look at doing a different zoning classification.
Okay.
And reducing the minimum square footage of a house from 1,000 foot to 750 foot. Because of the expense, the wood and the expense that it takes to build a 1,000 square foot house. And we keep sitting up here talking about affordable housing. If somebody's got a lot of record or got an acre of land but can't afford to build an 1,800 square foot house, which probably costs you $200,000 to $300,000, why not reduce that minimum size that the county requires now, that is 1,000 square feet, down to 750 square feet? And I also think that that would allow you to put 2 homes on 1 acre, smaller homes be it, but would be sufficient for a single adult. May not have any kids, may have just moved into town as a school teacher. And how all that works, that's just a suggestion. I don't know what the board thinks about it. It's just a food for thought. It would take a different zoning classification. Instead of R1, which is 1 house per acre, you'd have to do something different. You understand, Mike?
Yes, sir.
And something that needs to be brought to Mark's attention. Maybe even went to the Planning and Zoning Board and see what their thoughts are on it, and thoughts of the board members here. But I've been thinking about that, and you know, you take a 50-foot mobile home, 10 feet wide. How many square feet is that? It's 500 square feet, right? You're talking about building a home. So we allow people to put a mobile home in here that's only 500 square feet, but you can't build a house unless you build 1,000 square feet. And if you're elderly or you're, your kids are grown, never had no kids, it allows you a different ability to have a home, but not a home bigger than what you actually need. And not a home bigger than you can actually afford, because your insurance costs drop, the construction costs drop, and it may offer an opportunity, like I said, to have some additional affordable housing. If you can't afford a big house, then why not be able to limit that to 750 square feet? But that's something that can be for discussion later, but it's something I've been thinking about, and something I think needs to go to the county planner. Possibly he comes up with something, that recommendation should go to P&Z board, see what they think about it, and then come back to this board, and the commissioners by then will have time to absorb and think about what I'm saying. And if we're forward, we're forward. If we're not, we're not. Yeah. But there's something I think we need to look at.
Okay, so yes, if the board doesn't mind on that subject, Courtney's sitting in the back of the room. I'll have her, Mark, and Steve kind of reach out to you, and let's see if we could come up with something. I present it to the board, and that we can send to P&Z, and we move forward in that.
Now, how would it all work, Mike? I don't know if you'd have to have 2 different septic tanks, 1 for each dwelling. I mean, I don't know the specifics of all that.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's something to think about.
Yeah, let them talk to you and see what you need, what you're asking for, and see what they can put together, and I'll bring that back to the board for for your review and discussion.
Commissioner, in some resort communities, they use like something called accessory dwelling units, and that's actually one way of actually encouraging affordable housing, where a lot of restaurant workers or teachers, because it's a smaller unit, but it's also on, the primary house is still there, but it would be, let's say, like the construction of a garage apartment or something along those lines in a special zoning category. That's something Mark could
think about it. Do some research.
Yeah.
That's just a thought, how we get there, or if we get there, that's up to staff and commissioners and P&Z, but I think it's something, we've always held that 1,000 square foot minimum and only 1 house in an R1 district. I understand that. You'd have to do a totally different zoning category. And it may be that you need to have a minimum size lot. I don't know. It just opens up food for thought.
And I reached out to the chairman yesterday, and I'll tell you guys right now, I was going to call you guys too. So the superintendent has called me quite a few times within the last 2-3 weeks about how can we work together again, because lack of housing is affecting his teachers. Teachers affect students, and so at some point, if the chairman is willing, we'll sit down again, having another discussion with superintendent and see what I could bring back to the board. And then from there, we might approach the school district again. Let's see how it goes. But yes, I hear you. I hear Commissioner.
What I'm trying to say though, Mike, this could be where a developer could come in and build 2 smaller houses, rent to 2 different people, and not have so much in construction costs. That now it's not affordable to a school teacher or a deputy sheriff or somebody that's within that category that may not be here for 15 years or 20 years and don't want to build a home, but they need a small place to rent because they're by themselves or whatever. Some people it wouldn't help none. Other people it's going to help substantially. If you're a single wage earner, you can't afford no $1,000, $1,500 a month mortgage. But if you have a smaller place that could be built for less money, then your rent may not be. So it gets you into what I call affordable housing. Affordable housing is not $200,000 to $300,000 for a house. That's not what I call affordable housing.
No, sir.
So that's just food for thought.
Any other commissioners' comments? Meeting adjourned.